Oh my God, I'm in pain. Oh, you're not gonna see this too good, but I got, oh, that's a nasty blood blister. I didn't realize. Oh, damn, that's bad. So is that one. So I got the blood flowing again, sitting in hot water for 20 minutes or so. So the tool and weapon I have is my body and my brain. I think like a robot. I'll just get new feet tomorrow when I go in for overhaul. Oh, I'm too old to be overhauled? That sucks. What am I going to do? Just sit around this scrapyard all day? Okay. At least if you're made of steel, our blood is iron, of course. At least if you're made of steel, you rust away, and that is technically heat. So let's hear the weather. Oh.
Reducing visibility. Assembly Vukovic says it's the QE
Okay, so apparently the weather's so bad.
2 centimeters per hour is succeed getting that consignment deal, how little pickup there would have been on that vaccine, because we would have no one. But so it's a failure that I'm glad happened. But they would have had real problems. But third doses are not getting nearly the pickup that we saw in the first 2 shots.
So I'm going to put it on classical or
one
something.
thing I'd like to hear, no one seems to be asking, Dr. Tam, is like, what's the plan moving forward? Do we have to get 2 shots a year to be fully vaccinated? Like, what is the plan? Because I don't see a lot of people wanting to do that every year, 2 or 3 shots with these variants. And then what will fully vax mean?
Well, to be fair, Pfizer has come out with something in a pill form, which is being studied right now. And if that's approved in the United States and other countries, I guess it could evidently come here, and that would certainly make it a little bit easier not to worry about the use of 2 shots a year. I don't know, and I think that is the problem. I think Dan touched on it quite well. We've done our due diligence. We followed, most of us, we followed the directives. We got our 2 COVID shots. We got our booster, although, the 3 of us have and lots of the listeners have. But the problem is that the booster shot itself has been very low in terms of the amount of people who have been willing and
that's not the problem. The problem is it's the exact same shot you got the first 2 times.
Due to COVID frustration or just an overall sense of frustration with the way things are operating, and also a belief that if COVID zero is not going to happen, if herd immunity may not be achievable at least for many more years. We're just going to see a never-ending swarm of booster shots and more regular vaccines.
You guys don't seem to understand what herd immunity means.
Because we're not done, ladies and gentlemen. We're a long way away from being finished. Although we obviously have to move forward in our lives and start living with it. I don't know, because unfortunately, if the thought is that we're just going to do this for year after year after year, I mean, obviously we'll get used to it as a society. But there's just going to be more and more frustration that'll be building up from lots of different people.
And while you were talking, I was shoveling snow.
You'll get more anger. You'll get more rain.
So in Canada, snow is like shit. You're shoveling shit. We're shoveling snow.
Yeah, and one of the most important stories that's not really getting, I think, the due coverage it deserves is the study out of Johns Hopkins University, which reveals worldwide lockdowns only prevented 0.2% of COVID deaths, and were not, as the report says, an effective way of reducing deaths during the pandemic. The authors wrote, quote, "We find no evidence that lockdowns,
how do you know that?
Closures,
You
closures,
can't
and
know that.
gatherings had any noticeable effect on mortality during COVID." And then they talk about, given the devastation lockdowns cause, that should be rejected. And this is a paper that has been based on a review of 34 pre-existing COVID studies. And so, Dan, the cure has been worse.
So it wasn't they studied other stuff. Okay, I know what you're
every time we hear about these things, these draconian measures that had such little payoff, but would have done a lot of, for political and deflection on failed policies, people just don't buy in anymore. They just tune out.
No, and given Canada was perhaps among the most zealous of jurisdictions, in Ontario in particular, when it came to these lockdowns.
You got about 30 seconds and I'm gone.
The public and those who are skeptical about this have every legitimate reason to feel that we've been betrayed, we've been duped. Now the question is, well, how come it's got out now? I mean, we've had, as you pointed out in that article, several other studies that have confirmed this, have made it very clear, but they were not allowed to get out. There was a point at which we were absolutely emphatic that lockdowns had to happen, and anybody who opposed that was cast aside, was derided, was vilified. And so, those folks that did this, I mean, we have to name names. I mean, let's just go out there and recall who these people were, because if it happens to be the very people now that continue to call the shots, maybe it's time for a new government and a new regime to basically have these people put aside in favor of folks who are a little bit more with modern science, as opposed to trying to find cute ways to be a little more totalitarian. Thank you.
Well, but the thing is, Michael, the whole time, the spin was these are data-based driven decisions. Everything's driven by the data. Clearly,
race-based data. Release the race-based data, John.
Is the price being paid, and we won't know it for years to come, because it's all going to trickle out. Like, how steep will the mental illness be for some people? How steep will the learning loss? How far back are kids? There are so many costs of this, and you look at this and you think, okay,
4 separate teacher strikes.
It wasn't based on data.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, the global economy, the world economy has been shattered because of this, due to lockdowns and various other measures. Some of the things that we did early on were necessary. We understand that. But what has happened overall has been a complete
You did not do anything properly.
You have to use your noodle a little bit. Global currencies, or world currencies, including the Canadian dollar, are actually worthless today. And I know that's hard to believe, but because as we live in our homes or rent places or whatever, we look and see, well, we have things that are tangible around us. But in reality,
those are not assets.
It's worth anything other than what we believe it's worth, and that's a facade. But look, the reality is that the Johns Hopkins study, and this is a legitimate university,
you know what I have?
Well-regarded.
You know what I have? My community is operating still.
Be deciphered and gone through by lots of other people now, and other organizations will try to figure it out. If we discover in the end that Johns Hopkins was accurate, and that lockdowns only reduce COVID deaths, as they say, by 0.2%.
How do you know that?
We're going to be sitting there wondering.
So what you're saying is COVID's a lot worse than you ever said before, but you're pretending, see the lockdown, you shouldn't have put this on lockdown because it's so deadly.
And all these kinds of measures, and the irony can't be lost on anyone that we paid such a massive price for this, Dan, and the country that should be paying.
Yeah, all the rules you broke for the first 2 years. It's a huge price.
We're celebrating with the Olympics. I mean,
we're too busy shutting down the investigation and the revelation as to how Canada played a role at the Winnipeg labs in terms of producing what could potentially have been the key ingredients to causing this to the world. By the way, none of us here are anti-vaxxers, but my goodness, I'm going to hear for the next 10, 20 years as to how I was intellectually fleeced by the medical profession that defended this kind of nonsense. So, look, yes, at the end of the day, sorry, Michael, I didn't want to interrupt, but the fact is that we need to do something really quickly about going back to the source. China has to account for this, and if no one's prepared to do that, then, I guess we're all just poltroons.
Exactly.
I don't think anyone's willing to do that. All right, guys, I got to leave it there. I very much appreciate your time. We will chat again. Thanks.
Good night, Alan.
That is Dan McDay again, Michael Tobe, joining us here for round 2 of Counterpoint, brought to you by our very good friends over at Pizzaville. On the way back, we'll get a little off-putting, and something off-putting about Ottawa's water as fecal matter since the truckers wrote, apparently COVID's on the rise again thanks to those dirty, awful truckers. We'll talk about that in just a second. Stay here with us. I'm Alex Pearson. This is On Point.
Hold on.
Let's head out to the roads for a look at 640 Toronto chocolate traffic.
Sleek, slippery commute continues with the snowfall, but eastbound 401 is collision-free now after problems in the collectors at Nielsen and in the express at White's have cleared, leaving us with this westbound 401 express issue. This is at Renfort, the crash in the right lane. We didn't get a chance yet to formally clear the eastbound 403 collector after the eastbound 401, but it has since reopened. It might become closed again, MTO is telling me, as salters are out there.
Where do I begin?
Eastbound Gardner off-ramp to Spadina, stalled vehicle blocks the right lane. Southbound DVP 404 combination still slow on the approach to Steele, stalled in the right lane as well. Did you know Good Food now delivers groceries free in minutes for Toronto, Mississauga, and Oakville? Stay home and get your everyday essentials and more today. Visit makegoodfood.ca. I'm Michael Show 640 Toronto.
I'd like to thank everybody that helped me and helps other people.
Rising prices with Pizzaville's wing special. 14 wings now only $13.99. Dial pound 3636 from your cell or order online at pizzaville.ca.
It was late. I just wanted to get in my car and go home.
I didn't want to deal with a tow truck gangbanger. I just wanted to go home.
Abrams only recruit the best drivers. Fully licensed and insured. I won't get caught out. And with Abrams, I know I won't get ripped off.
You need a tow?
It's all good. Just waiting for Abrams.
You can trust Abrams Towing. Put it in your phone now. 416-398-2500. 416-398-2500. Addiction and mental health are serious.
Right. Where do I begin? By the way, I've been thinking, so we know bees are the primary pollinators, so are some wasps, hornets, things like that. But we also know other flies, flying creatures, and things are involved as well. You could accidentally knock against a plant and the pollen will fall out, right? If you grow cannabis and you get male plants, or hermaphrodite, whatever, male flowers, you can put, because some plants naturally have male and female flowers on them. Having them as two separate things isn't necessarily required. You can put a paper bag over the male flowers and collect the pollen for later. And later on, you dust some of that pollen onto a female flower, and that flower will make all sorts of seeds. Ow! I seem to have made a fruit fly breeding chamber here. The humidity in here is such that I can see the, I guess you call them, there's a word for it. It's not instars. Instars is what they're called, I think. And my fingertips numb. So I'm thinking fruit flies may well be the next rough and ready pollinator. Like if you've got some fruit, even if the fruit's gone bad, throw it in your freezer, your cooler, your big warehouse cooler, and then later you can bring it out. And fruit flies, if there's even one fruit fly, according to this video here, the one female can lay 500 eggs. Sounds incredible. Apparently they can live like 6 weeks as adults, and then there's like a week or two as larvae or whatever. Oh my God, it hurts. So since they're attracted to rotting fruit and stuff like that, guess what? They're going to be landing. I see them land on everything here. The thing that bothers me is I know my floor is dirty. So I know they're cross-contaminating. But there's so many of them in here. So I don't know if you can see these little specks here. No, because it's too bright. But they are in here, right here. Is that one of them? Yeah, I think you can see it. Oh, maybe that's the Canada Day thing behind it. I think so. Anyway. Oh, when I do this, they all come flying up to the top. And the mouse in here keeps getting stuck in the coffee cups. For example, this one here is not 12 ounces, it's 16 ounces. He jumped from a peanut butter jar into the cup, and he couldn't figure out how to get out. He didn't have enough mass to tip it over. What's he going after? My tomatoes, the ones I'm saving for seeds. He eats all the goddamn seeds and leaves the fruit all over the place. But it's what they're adapted to, so I could get a cat. That to me is the solution. I think there should be some sort of public health light. Like you should be able to license, like at your restaurant, you should be able to have like one cat that has like a public health license, and his job is to catch mice and stuff. But if it's one of those cats that walks on the counter and pisses and shits everywhere, then no, he doesn't get his license. Oh.
story about two brothers, Rob and Vic. Grew up in the world alone. God forgot about them.
Red and white, eh?
Forced to fend for themselves. Right. The story takes place.
So I did like 7 hours of shoveling today.
We get so far, I couldn't hear you.
But I don't have to do it tomorrow because it's done.
I'ma put him out. The heat to his face. I shut him so I can dig him out. When this pipe, they got the cash, it's a big amount. Dead cold in his eyes, without caring. If money speak, that explain the voices I've been hearing. You ain't really out to hell, God, you move. But I lie. And is that stick up turn homicide. So that's the way our mama died. If you with me, I'ma slide. So we slid. Had to get our game plan together because this little bit of stick up really lasting us.
I just want to thank you guys. Somebody gave me the Tim Hortons coffee and a gift card and some Timbits. And then they also gave me some Ziploc bags with coffee, sugar, tea, and a container of whitener. There's some about whitener. The French name for it is a different name. Anyway, I got soup and a coleslaw in here that I got from the stop. And I still have my spaghetti, some spaghetti in here. You people are so good to me. And I know what it is from the way they interact with me. Either they've seen me around and I didn't see them because I was busy, right? Or like they're just trying to live their life. You know, you're trying to park your car, there's water and fucking ice and shit everywhere, and you look up, it's a guy in an orange, is that a jail jumpsuit and a City of Toronto jacket? He's got a city shovel, he's wearing dog tags, but the red and fucking green, is he red greens? He got duct tape? Yeah, I do. I was in a car crash once where we were able to drive away because I had duct tape, because the fucking fender was doing this against the tire, and so we taped it. Oh, the fuck. Like my cousin was, see, my cousins are cool. They know me, so like they know how we do things. Their grandparents and shit. I got duct tape. Oh shit, let's do it up. Because otherwise it's rubbing on the tire, which actually is an offense under the Highway Traffic Act. If something is touching your wheel while it's moving, then that's actually technically an offense. You can't drive like that. There's other ones too. Like you can be missing one lug nut off of 4 bolts. Off of 4 or 5, and 2 off of 6 or 8, I think. You gotta look that up, but they can't be right next to each other. You can miss 1 off each wheel, and that's legal. What the fuck? So you got to think about the engineering that goes into that. You got to think about the engineering that goes into people at General Motors or whatever. So this wheel's held on with 5 bolts, eh? And what if I told you 4 bolts is more than enough to hold it on there, and 5 bolts is for safety?
Forever desperate on the edge with no place to go. We can't go back to the hood. We suck up everyone we know. For the love of money, people will rob from each other. For the love of money, people will steal from their mother. For the love of money, people will kill their own God. Fucking silent, my heart still beat. I'm paranoid, everything see, I think you after me. Hopefully, we was supposed to be getting work from this large tax. Since we know where he rest at, we gon' go guard. Son running so hard, heard he had 100 G's alone on the tow card. Bad white showed me mad cash.
Fucking blood blisters on my toes.
Stash at the house. Pass up a joke like this anything. Anyway, on our way there, I'm feeling bad vibes. Don't say that. That's when we gon' pass the dicks out. We stuck from way back up on Atlantic. The way them niggas looking, God, they driving mad crash. Through they windshield, they ain't windshield. Hit the hip behind the steering wheel. It's the way I feel. And I'll take the kill. I wanna watch him die. Hitting chill, we got bigger fish to buy. 2 L's later in a bed-side elevator. Got off the 5th floor. Would've hit the score. Ready? Kick the door off the edge. 1 shot. Only thing I saw was a nigga 4-4.
Thumbs you up.
He tried to run in, reach for a knife, shot him in the leg. To think about the life. Tell me where the he said. I tell you, just don't shoot. With the sight of fear, back down, big fighter stairs to the basement. And in some way, he had a cap door in the face.
I'm gonna put it back on the news or something.
Now here come the bitch talking about a share of the wealth. So we put head out of the for the love of money. will rob from each other.
Where do I begin
People will steal
to
from
tell the story of how true our love could be?
People will kill their own brothers.
Fucking came over. It was splendid that we got all this money and can't even spend it. Bless me, disappear. Me and FBI just say so much dirty shit we did, it's hard to show our face. So we bounced out of town and went down to Miami. The smoke so packed.
I don't know if the woman gave me this coin on purpose.
It all started when all we had was
But it's a 2005 with the Afghan veterans.
Remember when we had the new Lex with the two text rope to the two flex drinking.
It's set these aside, and if you see a veteran bumming change, give it to him. That's what I figured.
Open everything will go right with the Snow White and the number spots to flow all night. Up to this day, it was all tight. Fuck that. You know when you brother, we came out the same pussy, but I'm gonna tell you, you dummy, you fucked up my money. Nah, the money fucked you. Trying to say the money changed. What you think? I'm your brother. You got a gun in my face. We have to one tiny mistake, make you wanna erase. Fuck that. You got a side deal. That's why they raided the block. Now how the fuck I'm supposed to know the undercover was a cop? Let's put down the gun and let this bull. Nigga, I ain't telling you, let this chill, man. Fuck that, nigga. You don't gotta be this way, man. What, nigga? It gotta be like that, nigga. Then go ahead, pull the trigger. Go ahead, you hit for
No, for love of money, people will rob from each other. For the love of money, people will steal from their mother. For the love of money, people will kill their own brothers.
And so people would rob their mother for the ends.
For the first time, 22 cents on the bottom line on revenue of $1.3 billion. The stock snap surged more than 50%.
It's a throwback. Yeah. Blue pack. No win, man.
So, in case people didn't know, I know it's been 30, 40 years of hip-hop. Oftentimes, we're telling stories that are not glorifying things. It's shit we've seen, shit the people involved can't tell the story because they're dead, they're whatever. So the first one was a bunch of lessons about greed and stuff, jealousy and shit like that. This artist here has a shitload of things to say about drugs, and you should listen to him. He blew $16 million basically out of $3 million cash plus a whole bunch of real estate that he sold short. I forget how many houses he said, on fucking Oxycontins and Heineken, and he came back from it. So let's check this out.
Chop box, people mad, chop books. I swear to God, I should be dead from all the pills I took, but I'll be okay. Raise your hands if you're going insane. If you're feeling so depressed, you want to blow out your brains, and you've been to darker places you won't try to explain, but still you try to keep it moving, that we're probably the same. We used to get high like trucks on lift kits. Then I woke up and I said, fuck this shit. I made a promise to myself, mad rip shit. Slide through your verse like a Tokyo drift kid. From being at the doctors on pills like please help me, to being on the hospital floor like please kill me. And I ain't scared of dying except there's nothing to inherit. And I have lots of people money, including my parents. I'm trying to sit right, but I have mental interference, cause I got inner demons that are screaming out my lyrics. And I'm new to this new game where kids out talk shit. That's why I'm writing rhymes that even they can't fuck with. Let me do a show, let me catch somebody chuckle. I won't stop until my hands hurt and I got bloody knuckles. Then I'll take this girl and turn that boy into a cuckold. To tell the truth, I ain't fucking with the chuckle. Mad chop box, people mad chop looks. I swear to God, I should be dead from all the pills I took, but I'll be okay. And when mad chop pops, people mad chop things. I swear that I am going crazy. I should see a shrink, but I'll be okay. Welcome to Jam Rock, where kids dress like Urkel and they dance to spank rock. Don't they know that mad chop fly like Hancock? I'm from Vancouver where the guns go bankrupt. Told you that the smaller members homes we can't stop. I'm dangerous like Bangkok. All these little rappers coming fresh up the sandbox. Life a little crazy for me now that I'm bankrupt. But this guy, the danger breaking out of his handcuffs. Shane felt pain like acid raindrops. So Shane pop pills, they'll make your brain rot. Quit now, I'm back conquering like gangers. Corn on tour, fucking horse like Bangor. When mad chop pops, people mad chop looks. I swear to God, You can get from all the pills I took, but I'll be okay. When I'm on the mic, I like to speak. I like mad chop talks, people mad chop things. I swear that I ain't going crazy. I should see a shrink, but I'll be okay. Yeah. When I'm on the mic, I like to speak. Now tell me who should take the title. Rocker said he says the B-boy summits wearing tribal. Now it's all about survival. Okay, you won't have a clue in what I'm doing to a rival. Thought I was a shooter, but I'm doing sitting idle. I was super down for Cooper.
The Prime Minister says he will not negotiate.
Some healthcare workers. I missed it too.
Using the military to clear out the demonstration is not in the cards right now.
Oh, right.
Organizers say they're not going
Hey,
anywhere.
just remember, the Prime Minister's talking about whether he will or won't use the Army on you, and the U.S. Army's clearing your snow. Think about that.
Making way for extreme cold to settle in.
Fred Van Vliet is now Fred Van All-Star, and he and the Raps taking on the Bulls tonight at Scotiabank Arena.
Oh, I don't feel
keeping an
right.
eye on the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
I got some other stuff here,
too. Big earnings beats in from Amazon and Snapchat. The broader market close up.
Somebody gave me this one.
Thursday, and we're looking at Super Bowl ticket prices.
Our-
Mighty expensive business. 20 cents.
News Time 9:01.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones with his eyes on that drive. Zach Burton. It's a snowy one for sure. Stop. This report brought to you by Don Valley North Toyota.
Yeah, we can hear the snow, motherfucker.
Been coming and going all evening. Eastbound 401.
This is a cell phone and cable company. They've got like the top notch in communications at their disposal. They can't figure out AM radio in the snow.
Same thing with the West 401 crash at the 404 in the collectors. But we have new problems on the southbound 404 at the 407.
Another one.
The two right lanes are blocked to the crash. Just watching for that. And
There it
watch
is.
out for salters and flowers that are making their way across GTA
Flowers.
roads right now. I'll do my best to track them. Westbound 407
Flowers.
looks like they are.
I've never heard that word in my life.
Through Britannia. And even
Oh, this is the same lid. This is the same lid from my thermos. It's fucked up.
And then southbound, or rather northbound on the 404.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Even if I don't use the whole thing, I can use the lid. All right.
For you. If you're in a delay in those spots, that's exactly why you're behind a salter or a plower. Don Valley North Toyota
He said it again.
106,000 square foot automotive experience. Visit the showroom
Thank
or
you, miss.
online anytime at DonValleyNorthToyota.com. With the forecast, here's Emily Vukovic.
Periods of snow and that local blowing snow is going to be ending near midnight. Then we're left with a
Yeah,
cloudy
well, you
sky.
keep changing that.
2 to
Sorry,
5
sorry.
additional centimeters near Lake Ontario. That northerly wind coming in at 30 kilometers an hour, and
What?
it's going to feel much cooler than our actual temperature. We're going down to a low of
No, wind
minus
chill.
12, feeling more like minus 18. Again, our overnight low tonight, minus 12. And right now,
Now, last week, minus 12 was minus 21.
minus 14 with light snow. City News Time 9:03.
So I haven't listened yet.
In the downtown core this weekend, best to start coming in up with some alternate routes if you're coming in. The city is bracing for an expected convoy protest similar to Ottawa's.
Hospitals near Queen's Park are taking precautions and are also reaching out
I make
to
friends with
patients
truck
to
drivers.
advise them to be ready for traffic jams if they're heading to scheduled appointments.
Because I know the proper hand signals to back them up, or at least I know what aren't the proper ones.
This weekend, Mayor Tory says he's talked to the city manager and chief of police to work together to try to avoid the current situation being faced by Ottawa residents and businesses to make sure the protests remain peaceful and respectful. He's particularly concerned about the hospitals, which are down the street from Queen's Park.
People should not be blocked from receiving emergency care or any medical care, and hospital workers who have been frontline heroes throughout the course of the pandemic.
And this is real close to virtue signaling.
To go freely and safely.
Oh, those truck drivers are going to come stop people from getting to the hospital. Slow down. They're not even here yet.
Solicitor General Sylvia Jones and Toronto Police, who say they will have a stepped-up presence in downtown this weekend. And
Oh, like you don't normally, you
hospitals for
cocksuckers.
emergency operations will be subject to enforcement. There are several reports
You're
UHF
like it-
employees
like
are being
not
told to
normally, eh?
exercise caution when entering and exiting hospitals over the weekend. Mulder Qureshi,
Yeah,
City
because
News.
the truck drivers are here. Oh, my God.
Association released a statement ahead of this weekend's planned protest here in Toronto, saying that the Toronto Police Service had been advising doctors and nurses to conceal their identities due to the risk of being harassed. The ONA says attempts to intimidate nurses, healthcare professionals, or patients with aggressive noise and confrontational presence are entirely unacceptable. It's calling on elected leaders
Yeah,
and
don't
police to
fucking
ensure
bother
hospital
those
road
people.
remains safe both this weekend and every day.
Meantime, as the convoy protest in Ottawa continues to keep many downtown businesses closed and streets snarled, calling the army in to help clear those city streets of the convoy is not a consideration. That's the word from Prime Minister Trudeau today. Our Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney joins us with more details.
As the protest continues to disrupt the capital, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says no formal request has been made by the city or province for military assistance, despite Ottawa's police chief recently floating the idea.
The Canadian Forces answer to the Governor General, who is the Queen's representative. They do not answer to any politician in this country. No matter what the Prime Minister says, that is an unlawful order, and you have been trained to ignore unlawful orders. Thank you. Policing. We're trying to keep fucking Serbs and Slavs from killing each other, and what's this got to do with?
We will continue our protest until we see a clear plan for their
There's not much left in there.
Did not take any questions from reporters. Her lawyer only took a couple of questions before abruptly shutting down the news conference. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
City News time is 9:06.
Only 3 minutes in, and it's all bad.
The storm hit us tonight, but it's a gentle punch, to say the least, with just a few centimeters of snow. But those snowy, icy conditions have Toronto and the GTA under a winter weather.
So there is 1 to 2 inches of ice underneath all that snow. I know because I've been shoveling all day, and I've been fucking chipping ice all day.
So the second wave of snow is impacting the Golden Horseshoe tonight. But city weather specialist Emily Vukovic says it should wrap up by midnight. But first, anywhere between 2 to 5 centimeters additional snowfall is expected near Lake Ontario.
We already got that today. We already got that today.
15 centimeters could be expected. And the Niagara region is under a winter storm warning for total accumulations of 20 to 30 centimeters and snowfall rates of 2 centimeters an hour. Coupled with northerly winds of 30 kilometers an hour, and whiteouts are very possible. It's also going to get really cold, dropping down.
If you drive the 400, you won't see the bodies of water next to you. If you drive the 400, don't shit yourself when the whiteout happens. Set your cruise on 105, stay in the center lane, and when the whiteout hits you, light a joint or something. There's nothing you can do. You can't slam on the brakes, you can't speed up, you can't do shit.
Some uplifting news on the COVID-19 front. Ontario's top doctor says our current infection trends are encouraging. City's Phil Martino joins us with the latest from the province's Chief Medical Officer of Health.
Dr. Karen Moore says the number of hospitalizations in Ontario is currently stable, and the number of COVID patients in the ICU is starting to decrease.
But they already told us 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, because they're testing less, the numbers will be artificially low.
14.64% from 18.4% the week prior.
But he warns reopening the economy could lead to some rough times this month, although they have built good hospital
economy. It's fucking going to be minus 20 with 2 feet of snow. What economy is it? Hey, guess what? Nobody's paying people to shovel snow because they're in their house all day anyway. And they ain't got no money.
Make the eventual decisions, but I think it's worthwhile as a society to start having those discussions.
He adds masking will likely be the last public health measure to go, as it offers a good amount of protection.
Now remember, I want you to remember so let's say 2017, 18 even, there were people trying to say, oh, we're going to ban the burqa, we're going to ban all face coverings in Canada. And we all went, what, scarves and ski masks too? Fuck you.
It was a face-to-face meeting today.
I don't know what it means. It just, I keep thinking about it.
The Ontario Nurses Association. The Premier, in a statement, called the meeting, quote, productive, and said he asked the ONA for input and ideas on how to attract, train, and retain nurses. How did the association feel it went? I asked Angela Priocanon with the ONA.
He did express his respect for nurses and says that nurses deserve to have.
You got to give them a benefit aside from money, like some sort of transportation benefit, something. Like, no, seriously. I see these women standing on the corner waiting for a fucking bus. There's a woman trying to.
We did tell him that we were not going to be, strung along with endless meetings.
She also said the Premier made no commitment to repeal Bill 124, which freezes the wages of some nurses. Richard Sutton, City News.
You had to make a law.
City News time 9:09.
You couldn't just say, hey, we can't do it. You had to make a law freezing their wages. No, there's things you don't do. When things are this tight of you can't find workers to do a job, and then it's this important, and then you start fucking with all the benefits and shit. There's gonna be people out there who are gonna say fuck it, not because there's gonna be a job with more money so they can feed their kids or whatever. So there's a woman trying to walk with her kids to the daycare and get to work, and the back of her house has been torn apart for February? Over a year. Let's call it a year, a bit more than a year. For some fucking Toronto community housing project. She's some type of nurse, healthcare. I can tell from the uniform. Fucking. I'm fucking upset. I'm upset. Okay. Oh shit. I wonder if these people have anything useful. By the way, if you think harassing doctors and nurses makes sense, those people didn't make the rules that you're upset with. Okay, you're gonna terrify them. What you may think is a powerful thing, but because they're trying not to get sick so they don't spread sickness to the people they're trying to care for. It's just like EMS, firefighters, whatever. They don't, when they get a call, they don't look it up and go, oh, it's Bob's house. Fuck Bob, we're not showing up. They don't fucking know who they're showing up for. We had an incident in Regent Park about 20 years ago. No. Far be it for me to tell you not to be a crazy gangster nigga. That's fine. Super criminal. Me too. I know. When I get into a state of mind, I'm super criminal too. Don't kid yourself. Somebody shot somebody. Ambulance showed up. And somebody started shooting at the EMS techs. The EMS techs don't know who they're showing up for. Okay, and there's other shit too. Let's say somebody robs a store with either a knife or a gun. It doesn't matter. Some type of weapon. Okay, because the #1 homicide weapon in Canada and Britain right now is edged weapons. No matter what the advertisements say, it's not true. The Liberal Party keeps saying it's guns. It's not. You can look at the statistic. It's an outright lie. It's not. Gun violence is up, but it's not the #1 murder weapon. It's not the #1 cause of death. Suicides are 8 times the number of homicides approximately in this country. I was talking about nurses. Damn it, I just lost my fucking train of thought. Fuck. If somebody robs a store, let's say your grandmother's at the back of the store trying to get a bag of milk. Okay, you don't even want her walking around outside because the ground is slippery and people are sick. But she's one of these old people that says, I'm going to the market. Fuck you. Okay, mom. Somebody robs the store and then runs off. The man who owns the store calls 911. Maybe his English ain't so great. Maybe he doesn't understand the implications. He says, someone just robbed my store with a knife or a gun. Oh, and there's a woman in the back that looks like she's having a heart attack. He doesn't know that he just killed her. The ambulance is not allowed on the scene till the police clear the scene because you said there was a weapon. You don't know who those could. You know, oh, the cops are going to show up to arrest that guy. Well, the first thing they have to do is clear the scene and make sure the ambulance can come in. So if you think it's funny to get in their way and stuff, now they have a screen telling them what's going on. But I've seen the calls on their website. There's a lie. I forget the exact website. It's called c4s.torontopolice.ca. c4s.torontopolice.ca. And it's all the live calls from supposedly the last 4 hours. And half of them say unknown trouble. Okay, it doesn't matter what you tell the 911 operator. They click a drop-down menu and it says unknown trouble. Half the time the cops don't know what they're showing up for. I know because about 2 years ago, I was clearing a storm drain with a stick, a wooden stick. Somebody apparently called the cops and told them something. The SUV's rolling down towards me. He looks at me, but he's giving me a funny look. He's not giving me a dirty look like he thinks I did. He's giving me a funny look. I've never seen this look from him. Like, what's going on? He's looking at me because I've got the stick in my hand. It's like, we literally just got this call, and we're coming this way anyway. Somebody just called and said, there's a guy trying to open up the sewer, like lift open the sewers with a stick. I looked at the stick. I said, I can't open a sewer with a stick. Those lids weigh like 400 pounds. A wooden stick not going to do it. Somebody called for that. The man was looking right at me saying the only reason, like, because I'm right there and they literally just got the calls, the only reason he's even talking to me.
Types of solutions, and I agree with you, Alex. It's important to have that conversation because if we don't have the conversation, we'll live under this impression that we have the best healthcare system in the world. But frankly, when you compare our system to other places, how much money
I've been without medication for 2 years.
It is not the best system in the world. The people that work in our system are the best in the world. But the system itself.
I've got the fuck. The last time I tried to get.
That means it doesn't have to be a wholesale change. Sometimes it's constant incremental improvements that are required. But let's not be afraid of that. And the pandemic has taught us.
January 16, 2020.
If you go back, how many virtual care visits there are today in Canada compared to 2 years ago? 2 years ago, you couldn't even talk about it. Now,
I know, because I was trying to get it.
It shows that we can move quickly when we have to. Let's not wait.
I told the house call doctor service that I was having like a sickle cell crisis. Oh, well, I'm not going to send a doctor out just for that. It is a life-threatening emergency. It's the same as a heart attack. It's the same level.
We can't just look at 1960s solution and model and think it will apply in the 21st century. We need to adapt.
Yeah, guaranteed we're all getting
because the
old.
virus don't give a fuck.
A system like this, if I'm old, because it's clearly broken. But nonetheless, I hope that the time is now. Very much appreciate your time on this.
Thank you very much. Happy to talk about this. Thanks, Alex.
Perfect, and we will keep talking. That is out.
I got a feeling I'm not going to be able to find anything I think is useful for you guys.
And so there's solutions on the
some of these are useful.
I guess brave enough to finally have a conversation that was needed a whole long time ago. All right, on the other side of this break, the truckers may be trying to get the Prime Minister's attention, but it is actually the average Joe citizen who.
No, if they're coming to Toronto, they're trying to get the Premier's attention and the people of the greater Toronto area. 5.5 million out of the 14.5 million.
In just a second, here on Point, I'm Alex Pearson.
I just want to see. I just want to see a merry-go-round of, so if you don't know, the provincial seat of government, the legislature, is in Toronto. The federal seat is in Ottawa. Anyway, the Ontario legislature is in Toronto downtown. Is it called Queen's Park Crescent or Queen's Park? There's a round road that goes around it. There's a couple of stoplights around it. I think there's 2 or 3. 2. I just want to see the trucks going around and stop at the light and go around. I just want to see that all day long. Just idle, just 5 or 10 kilometers an hour. And then if you're burning biodiesel, if it's that fried chicken shit or whatever, just think you're circling the building, okay? Like the graffiti said, everything that rises, that hot exhaust is floating up, and no matter which way the wind goes, they're going to smell you. That's priceless. That's priceless. They can put on headphones and stop hearing you. They could close the blinds, but they are going to smell your ass. And I want it. I do 5 or 10 kilometers, whatever it'll idle at. I don't know precisely. And then as you come up to the red light, just pull that Jake brake.
.ca. Dentex Canada is one of Canada's largest.
If this don't work, I'm putting it back on that child. It's so good. I just got even more confused. So I know there's streets there where you've got these driveways, the sidewalk cuts, and then people shovel to the side. Okay, and I see you assholes who, when you dig your car out, you don't shovel into the road. You make this fucking, I don't know how to describe. You make like a fucking barrier between your car and the next car, like perpendicular to the road. And with all those driveways and shit, and all the salt, you guys overuse the salt. Using more won't make, it's not magic. It doesn't produce heat. It changes the boiling point and freezing point of the water. And I think this is the misunderstanding people are having, because supposedly most Americans think that gravity is caused by air pressure. Now, when I read that, that was in print, so I never got to actually, there's no link to give you, to tell you. But there are pools of water, 6, 8, to as deep as the curb, all the fucking way up and down that street. Not at the south end where all the poor people live, because I've been clearing those drains over and over and over as best as I can. Uphill at the top end. Well, fuck it, that's not my problem. When it eventually drains down, then it'll become my problem. Sorry, I can't help you people if you refuse to listen. I gave up on helping people move their cars out of the snow years ago for the same reason. They won't listen. You have to be willing to either do exactly what I say or let me get in the car and drive, which is almost the same thing, or I'm not helping you. And my reasoning is this: you could have put winter tires on the car. You could have taken better care of the car. You could have. There's so many things you could have done. You could try to learn a bit better how to drive in this shit, and you guys just refuse. You fucking refuse. So now I'm wasting my whole winter making up for your summer of, I don't know what you did with the money. Like, an ice melter looks like it costs 10 times as much as salt, but it doesn't, because you just put it out once and it works. The salt is artificially, like, it's artificially lower than the cost, but it's actually quite a bit higher price than the cost of making this shit. All right, music. I'm going to skip it back to the beginning, I think, if it'll work. If it will work. Maybe I won't.
But now we're cooping through this vital, and I'm just trying to break a broken group of my idols. Now call me Mr. Suicidal. Ruthless. It's a throwback. Yeah. Oh. Blue pack.
By the way, that's a KRS-One sample.
That's where the God should be dead from all the pills I took, but I'll
knowledge is stream over nearly everybody.
Raise your hands if you're going insane. If you're feeling so depressed you want to blow out your brains, and you've been to darker places you want to try to explain.
I just got to say one more thing. That joint I just smoked, I rolled so that when I got my coffee this morning, I could smoke it. I've been working all fucking day, didn't touch it till I got here. And that's why I don't know where my rolling papers are.
Still, you try to keep it moving, then we're probably the same. We used to get high like trucks on lift kits. Then I woke up and I said, fuck this shit. I made a promise to myself, mad rip shit. Slide through your verse like a Tokyo drip kit. From being at the doctor's on pills like, please help me, to being on the hospital floor.
Said some let it snow. That's the theme of the day.
There's nothing to inherit, and I want to keep money, including my parents. I'm trying to sit the right, but I have mental interference. Cause I got inner demons that are screaming out my lyrics. And I'm new to this new game with kids out talk shit. That's why I'm writing rhymes that even they can't fuck with. Let me do a show. Let me catch somebody chuckle. I won't stop until my hands hurt.
Rule number 2, Ziploc.
Then I'll take this girl and turn that boy into a cuckold. You tell the truth, I ain't fucking with them chuckles. Mad child walks, people mad child looks. I swear to God, I should be getting all the pills I took, but I'll be okay. And when mad child talks, people mad child thinks. I swear that I am going crazy. I should see a shrink, but I'll be okay. Welcome to Jam Rock, where kids dress like Urkel and they dance to spank rock. Don't they know that mad child fly like Hancock? I'm from Vancouver where the guns go bankrupt. Told you that the smaller member zones we can't stop. I'm dangerous like Bangkok. All these little rappers coming fresh up the sandbox. Life a little crazy for me now that I'm bankrupt. But misguided angel breaking out of his handcuffs. Shane felt pain like acid raindrops. So Shane pop pills, they'll make your brain rot. Quit now, I'm back conquering like gangers. Corn on tour, fucking horse like Bangor. When mad child walks, people mad child looks. I swear to God, I should be dead from all the pills I took.
So I'm just gonna pause for a second. He keeps making these really old references. Acid rain, Urkel. What was the other one? You don't even know what acid rain is, do you? You don't know what global warming is. You know climate change, eh?
But I'll be okay.
Oh, and kids that dress like Urkel are gangbangers these days.
People match up things. I swear that I am going crazy. I should see a shrink, but I'll be okay. Yeah. Now tell me who should take the title. Rocker steady since the B-boy summits wearing tribal. Now it's all about survival.
All about survival. I got holy prayers because I killed all my rivals.
Thought I was a shooter, but I'm blue and sitting idle. I was super stupid, now for Cooper Loot is vital. And I'm just trying to break up like a group of ruined idols. Now call me Mr. Suicidal. Ruthless for a writer, rapping with the human spider. I'm the silver surfer, stress, so I'm a night out. Definite depression, so my life is now a hideout. It's bright out. Keep the shades down and the doors locked. 4 knocks, keep the floor mopped. I'm a warlock. Trying to keep a secret while I'm sneaking out the door. Cause people might be sleeping, but I'm freaking out for more drugs. Hey, yo, I'm set on repeat. Rocking undefeated, but it's dead up defeat. White breeder in a white beater, but I don't wear tight jeans, bright nights either. You don't like my style, I don't like yours either. Dating Asian girls, they got white boy feet. Instead of peeking while I'm tweaking out, I'm looking for a beacon. And speaking while I'm thinking out the devil on the weekends.
Once in a while on like road trips or whatever.
Looked into as to like the cause and effect of how it starts to kind of break people down?
I don't have. I can't tell you that I looked at it recently, but I can tell you that it's certainly in the trauma area of things that a therapist looks at in terms of sounds. Environment is a huge thing of it. A huge thing. I mean, along the Eglinton subway, just in the area of Forest Hill, which mostly single-family homes, rather expensive, pretty high level community.
But they all have the granny apartment with the nanny in the attic
a lot
or
of
whatever.
kids and a lot of caregivers had a real issue with the pounding from the subway, drilling in under Eglinton subway, and such that the government actually, put something.
By the way, $1 billion cancellation fee for the Eglinton West subway in the 90s. They built 6 stations, 5 stations, and fucking. I think it was 5 stations and fucking canceled it, filled the hole back in.
A nightclub or a sports bar where it's loud, and there's music playing on the weekends. A lot of people move away if they're, for the weekend if there's something coming into town that's close to where they live. So there's a lot of information.
Yeah, we all do that. We just move away when something comes down.
So, the data, I'm sure, would support that, continued noise. I mean, that's why they use it in certain kinds of interrogation, right? Light and sound and, crazy sounds, music, ongoing late at night, crazy times of the day. They make believe it's day and night. So messing with people's ability to regulate their sleep at times of day, whether you can, actually open your blinds and drapes and see daylight because afraid to, filled with protesters just outside your door. I was supposed to
Canada. We're
to
oh, look, a protest. Let's should we bring snacks or something?
Get away and skate on the Rideau Canal. And the hotel actually sent us back a message saying, "Listen, you're welcome to come, but the restaurant's closed, the gym is closed, the lounge is closed, but you can get room service. You can go stay in your room." Like seriously, because it's right down.
You can stay in your room and listen to the horn.
Yeah, they want like a fortune of money for that privilege. But so, simple person like me just
did he just swear? Or did he use a racial slur?
Just being affected by something like this. Can you imagine living in what are very expensive apartments and dwellings, around those neighborhoods? And honestly,
so because they're expensive, so because mine is cheaper than yours. Hey, mine's more than 30% of my fucking income. I think mine's more expensive.
Being a protester.
But there is concern,
I hope you guys hit Lansdowne, DuPont, Davenport, St. Clair, Kiel, Dufferin. Dufferin's a pain in the ass. Dufferin's a pain in the ass. Don't bother with Dufferin.
I don't know how they're going to deal with that, but I guess it's
Bloor Street's a pain in the ass too.
But what do you do? Like other than I'm thinking, okay, well, you could get soundproof headphones like I wear for the show.
But that won't work with the Jake brake.
That kind of noise when it's not going to stop. I don't think for days, if not weeks.
Well, my first urge would be to somebody, if you do have a place to go out of town where you're safe and comfortable, family or friend, maybe move out for a few days, get yourself some rest, see how it all pans out. Number one. Number two,
fuck it, become a truck driver, just live on the highway.
So you can create, sound in your home that's more, perhaps a little bit louder, but a softer sound, so form of music or sound. It's horrible to try to sleep with headphones on, man. Like, I don't know if you've ever done it. I've tried it on an airplane and it's no fun. So, it's just, there isn't a real quick fix. Like, there's, getting sleep is one part of it. So many people have issues around just.
Yeah, many people have issues.
Finding great candidates to hire.
Okay, so I know what I'm doing is like aggregating. It's hip hop's been sampling for years, right? But I feel like I'm failing you. It's I mean, this does show. This is what there's. Oh, there's a protest coming. You should leave. We just all leave when we because our houses are so expensive. Your house is expensive, eh? You can't get the mortgage if you're paying more than, what is it, 30%? Let's say. Your house is expensive. Oh, because affordability is a relative thing. Because crack cocaine is more affordable than powder cocaine because it's $3 for the thing, right? but it's not cheaper. It's far more expensive. It's, let's call it double, because you're basically paying for baking soda at the same rate. I don't know if I want to hear the news. Let's try this.
Thursday, February 3rd.
It's what day?
PTA who talks about some of the stresses they go through.
Wish for more help from the RCMP. The force agreeing tonight to beef up its officer presence at the convoy.
Oh. Damn it.
The city of Toronto and police are bracing for an expected convoy of anti-mandates this weekend, while nurses and doctors are being advised to conceal their identities to avoid being harassed by protesters.
The snow isn't done just yet. Environment Canada has issued weather alerts across the Golden Horseshoe for tricky travel conditions tonight before a frigid air mass settles in tomorrow.
Ontario's top doctor says the number of hospitalizations in the province is currently stable.
We're trending in the right direction.
But he warns we are not out of the woods yet.
All-star Fred VanVleet and the Raptors running with the Bulls in the fourth quarter at Scotiabank Arena. And our curlers and figure skaters in action tonight in Beijing. Sports at 45. Amazon announces stronger rates, but also a hike to the price of its Prime membership. The broader markets tanked, Dow and NASDAQ down more than 500. Business at 56.
City News Time 9:31.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's in hour terms.
Can't do it. I gotta hear some man pop or something. And then I think I'll eat this soup they gave me today. I think it's chicken or something. It's in some type of leak proof. It's a clear thing. Apparently it is leak proof. It's been in my bag all day. I don't think it leaked yet. If it did, though, it'd be frozen, right? So, oh shit. Oh, okay. Tray bars. Oh my God, I'm not.
Get on these beats because you can't. I only get on these beats because you can't. My mind got a state of gold like Kevin Durant. We've been dogs since day one, like the lady got a tramp. Back when Disney never had Fox under the stamp. It's the camp on my Glock stamp. Hold it down like a clamp. Yeah, it mess up your stomach, it's not cramps. Anytime I take off, so I did it off for ramps. Thought you pulled a soldier, but it was telling and got cranked. So plaga, so sipping Canadian lager. Orange is a new black, baby, just free blocker. Like this beyond the streets, like P. Topper. Killing shit, but came out of thunder like Ibaka. Mikasa, swear to Casa, and a blue balaclava. Pop out the piece like cassava. We got it. When we burn fire, it's like lava. Before we got social, all the media bombers, comma. You ain't got bars like that. 13 stabs like you ain't got scars like that. My nigga in a jacket moving like this all I rap. It's all I rap. Get these groupies off my back. Blam, blam.
Blam to them all. Listen to them shots from my nigga doggy dog. Blam, 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 blam. Blam to them all. Listen to them shots from my nigga doggy dog. Blam, blam.
I'm Snoop Dogg, I put your bitch in a doggy style. Slap you for a week and guarantee she don't walk a while. A rich rappers calling my name, I better knock him down the dominoes. Nigga, I snap like a crocodile. Like if they needed space, my bullets hit them with rocket power. Cooking up coke and never looking like cauliflower. Yeah, where the lyricists? Oh yeah, niggas is pussy, off clitoris. Haters when I'm killing this, it's rap shit. I touch everything like a physicist. If you playing, I'm going off like I'm ticklish. You little bitch, you better watch your Uma. You're glowing up on Gucci, all my people want a Puma. The bullets got no name and they travel like a Uber. They send you to shoot niggas, tell on you like Cuda. Like what's truer? These niggas newer. We used to keep a rat in a sewer, so we don't ever mix in this manure. I'm the future. In your past, these motorcycles damn go fast. I treat this bitch like Bangladesh. I bang my chest. Gorilla, break your flesh. Suspense compress and contrast. This man confess like bam, 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 bam.
Blam to them all. Listen to the sounds of my nigga doggy dog. Blam, blam, blam. Blam to them all. Listen to the sounds of my nigga doggy dog. Blam, 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 blam. Blam to them all. Listen to the sounds of my nigga doggy dog. Blam, 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 blam. Blam to them all. Listen to the sounds of my nigga doggy dog. Blam, blam.
Yeah, so Suge Knight, blah, 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 blah.
Ain't nothing but a gangster's party. Mm-hmm. They like that up. Yes, nigga. Word take what up, nigga? Free Slim. We out here. Don't get close, nigga. We the Caribbeans got the shooters behind me. FOGs the wide that's just in the 90s. So don't sleep, no, nigga. We are what? Won't matter who it is, bound to get the job done. We the Caribbeans got the shooters behind me. FOGs the wide that's just in the 90s. So don't sleep, nigga. We are what? Don't matter who it is, bound to get the job done. On the same shit, with the same click. Never gonna change, no, nigga. Only change hoes and the pool, but only if it's fucking up. Play some aim and niggas above the button. Going hard in the paint, no patch of fucking up. Repatch and flip that to get our shit up. All the other option is a stick up. Never a 9 to 5, cause I ain't got no day job. From the slums, little homie, when we play hard. You don't wanna see the 30-30 when it sprays off. The 20 people walk around 3/8 for the beat. The 40 to lick them down, the max for the huge. Heard niggas saying but they wanna make tracks with us. What for that? Didn't even crack to us. Going hard in the booth, it's a takeover. Hard and the ground into your face, that's a makeover. 2 and 5 for a Q. The rest profit. Hustlers, mine say won't sleep till I knock it. And don't push me, cause I ain't in the top game. 12-year-old school, so I ain't scared if you got it. Y'all got it. It's me you comparing to. I ain't finished my fair share yet, but I aired them just started. And I ain't talking about no jump shot. Brush them off, go top. You know the cold hurling tracks. Didn't think I was capable. 4-5 pipe on my heart. Trace of didn't think I was capable. 4-5 pipe on my heart. It isn't traceable. You niggas gon' ride something like a flat tire. They with fire at your back, you will be backfire. Cause my gas the same size as a blow dry. Never true in your raps, you some damn liar. Break jobs, make them spit through the wire. And you don't supply shit, you a buyer. I'm the king again, rap, call me sire. That's hate, but privately you rate and admire. Tell the truth, your rubber grip tight, no pliers. I gotta take you out, call it quits or retire. The 4th room down, 5th lift from up. Bells don't leave shells, so I'm switching up. Something like a bus driver still picking up. Got your hands in your pocket, nigga, stick them out. Palmer projects, money's no objects. So we finger fuck max and we contact. Slide in, slide out, duck when we ride out. Down go, I got round that you dumb clowns. You're standing up till I tell them sit down. Stomach on the ground, hands behind your back and your neck. When I'm digging in your pants, give me that in your trip. Out for the rest. He said, get the weed, leave the cash. I'ma do him dirty, Mad Max. Doing niggas get back, bitches get smacked and get smacked face down when I'm breaking her back. Yo, we got metal like a rap, made a name in rap. I ain't setting it for track. Yo, I'ma need me a backpack, C-O-L-T, carved in my rap. Still unstolen, stereo scratch up on my actions. Suck the madness, I'm real up, get your gun. Mad shit, they can't go sleep like I don't got a night show. Tell your ain't class, didn't see y'all, nah, run up on them close. I ain't doing wrong, but I'm clear blood strong till it jumps on my car. Till it Chinese dangerous and no to me arms crossed. Just sicker than stars, I ain't famous, but I'm a hood star. I'll snap, crack, pop like camera. I'll snap, run, duck, just hide when I let off. Man in the mask, man in the act, man with the strap to your man's vision black. With the phone dog and I'll snap. OGs for YGs, scroll clap, we clap. Do you come and try me? 70s and 90s, been moving grimy. Blood rush till it's hooked up to the IV. 4-5 will stretch you, of course. And they never the 45, but they down to the stretcher. Better get a coffin. Yo, Critians, so we ain't in a no long talking. Money overflow, back on my bullshit. These pumps that I grew with, acting like you're too sick, too. No cash making me ever switch sides. Or babble to the Jakes, almost get my guns fried, huh? My mind's fried. See, I don't give a fuck. Skank it with a YG, guarantee we hit them up. Take a nigga slut, man, you know me. Never look back since my first pack in 03. Pack nigga, plus I get busy with these OGs, screaming Southside, outside all the police. Fuck up when I nip when I have a beat. Snakes and the cop chops, now you owe me 10 J's. Till I go to sleep, kill you for the indicator. Marksman, shoot for fun. What the fuck's a murder one? Bad news if you run into the DBS. All I do is give one nod, then it beats the tech.
then he reads the text. All I do is give one night, then he reads the text. We the Canadians got the shooters behind me. I OGs the white, the 70s and 90s. So don't sleep, no, nigga, we all what, no matter who it is, bound to get the job done. We the Canadians got the shooters behind me. I OGs the white, the 70s and 90s. So don't sleep, nigga, we all what, no matter who it is, bound to get the job done.
Oh shit.
That's been generated by means that we all know way too well. And when you erode the power of the police and you erode the ability for the police to move in and do things appropriately, this sometimes can be the result. Now that means
appropriately meaning get these protesters out of here. They don't have the right to protest.
Hey folks, y'all know that saying, money is the root of all evil. I think it's a saying actually in the Bible.
Damn, son, where to find this? Ruckus.
Lying hard like Van Dams on the sand, going ham. My guns don't jam. Fuck a friend, guys die at the end. Blood dance, take your chance. Fake bros get caught. Fuck a cop, me got bodied by a singer nigga. A 6-star food chain, kid told them, yeah you showed them. Street star walls, battle cars, cross narcs. I'm a street star, ready for war. Make Drake kill you, and June if don't tell you in the slave yard. Stacy Dash says fuck Black History Month. That bitch is dumb. 2016 Oscar is racist. Trump is a ghetto gun. He go off on a run and kill the neighbors. The neighbors, nothing good. Kill all you haters. Turn kids to believers. Still making moves, you're losing. We're winning. Ain't cut from the same cloth. Nigga, you're soft. Come blaze a clown. He can't come through the six. They shut out to John Gotti. June feel like VIE. Rattle dance, baby. I miss my 10 guns and gang fights, selling heroin and hard. Changed my life forever. Starting rap days I ate was clever. Gonna start a blow up, grow up. Nigga, what's up? Nigga, what's up? Nigga, me. Yeah. I'm like, your hood, don't give no love, my hood don't give no fuck, your hood don't give no love, my hood don't give no fuck.
These people are terrified that people are protesting. They're terrified. Oh, you could just move away, you know.
We're ready for war. We're ready for war. We're ready for war. Nigga, what's up? Your hood don't give no love. My hood don't give a fuck. Your hood don't give no love. My hood don't give a fuck. We're ready for war.
I think they are very proactive in, making sure that the routes are controlled, whereby truckers can only get access to the legislature by certain tracks, and they can't, go beyond certain barriers. We might be able to avoid some of the gridlock they're seeing in Ottawa, but I still think it's going to be a mess.
Gridlock. Remember, nobody has a reason to be on the road anyway unless they're truck drivers. Where the fuck are you going? I see you assholes because I see you coming and going at odd hours. You're not driving to work at 7 in the morning.
And you can spread them out and cause all sorts of disruptions to the businesses, and there's lots
like, I don't care, it's not my business, but I see you're not driving to work.
In your mind, do you
I see how you park, too. You come home at like 4 in the morning, the car's sideways.
I don't believe that the army would be called in except to support the police if things got really violent.
That is something.
We tend in Canada not to use our military against our own people, and I can't see it happening. And
the CF won't do it. They'll do something non-violent.
They use military equipment or something like that.
30 years ago, it's different.
In the GTA to pull all the trucks away that they have in Ottawa. There won't be enough
in
Toronto for the GTA to pull away all the trucks.
Time will tell. All right, Dave, thank you. We'll probably be talking again. Appreciate it.
What's that mean? Like, I hate it when people do that. Like, you tell them something important in detail. Time will tell. You just said nothing. You just disregard. Like, it feels like you did.
It's important to think.
So our army and civilian policing are very different things. What I'm doing out here, if it was, I feel like, should I do this? Fuck it, I'm gonna stay in here. I'm not spending money on takeout coffee and food to stay out there, and the extra joints and cigarettes I'm smoking because it's fucking cold and shit. No, I'm doing this for a reason. So a gun is no use. People think army. I had somebody, oh, you want to go in the army? You want to kill people? I was like, wow, that's your response? A gun is no use for this particular situation. So, for example, the Canadian Forces has a mobile urban response team. It's a very different environment in the city and shit. There's fucking civilians and kids and old people everywhere that I'm supposed to. I should type in the Complan laser thing. Supporting, protecting, whatever. Yeah, that's the word, supporting. The Canadian Forces will fucking kick your ass with their hands and feet. They'll fucking just tackle you. So when you see me without a shovel, but I'm kicking the snow with my feet, like I'm thinking like a North Korean. Well, I gotta get it done. Fuck it. My body is my tool, and my brain is my weapon. No, I got that backwards. They will kick your ass without guns, but they got some big guns, like some fast-firing guns. You don't want to fuck around.
Time tonight, he is 6:40 Toronto.
Ow, damn it. Oh, that was loud.
Remember the 70s?
No. And by the way, I know we're dealing with trucks driving around. There's people on the ground. If they're not driving a truck, they're not part of the trucker convoy. Hello. And these guys aren't going to park somewhere illegally because you could tow the fucking vehicle. They're not going to give you the excuse. They know how much it fucking costs them to get that shit up. But if you're talking about the trucks, the Army's got like trucks and buses and all sorts of fucked up equipment. They could just park across the street and fucking fuck that up. You're not moving it. Their forklifts, everything they have is bigger and heavier than anything you ever seen of the same equipment.
Good choice. Brought to you by Moderna.
Shit, what did we miss? There's something else too. I keep saying keep the traffic moving, and I spell it with a K, but that's not the point. Keep the traffic moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. Tell it walking, keep it moving, keep it moving. This whole city and this whole province is about keeping the traffic fucking flowing. I forget where I was going with that. So, yeah, the Canadians figured out in World War II one of the things we figured out how to do was to shut down an airport and fuck up the runway so you can't use it, but it can be fixed relatively easily and cheaply, as long as nobody's shooting at you. Called the Canadian pipe bomb. This is what it's called, the Canadian pipe bomb. And if you try to find it on the internet, you may or may not find it, because I found it, and then when I went back to look for it, it was gone. I should have fucking printed it up or something. I got it up here, so it doesn't matter. It's not a way of making an improvised explosive device. That is not what it is. It's a tactic the military uses to shut down a runway. We're all about shutting shit down. Shut down the traffic, and you don't need to shoot anybody.
And Ford made a few cost of living promises. That
Japan's bullet trains and China's high-speed trains stopped running
cut to income taxes
for 2 hours, 90 minutes.
And sure, he'll get some understanding that
billions would be lost on the stock markets around the world.
But certainly, with cost of living never delaying, he's got to start walking this talk, or he's going to be attacked for breaking promises. Jay Goldberg is the Canadian Taxpayers Federation Ontario Director. He joins us now. Good to have you.
Well, this should be
great to be with you. So we do have a budget coming at some point, I think, and normally that happens. I think it's in March, but this will you kind of set out the pre-election blueprint, and you submitted your wish list. What is on your wish list that you want them to present?
Yeah, so we had a pre-budget submission, and I was in a round table with the Minister of Finance and some others in the Ford government. And what I made clear is that taxpayers in Ontario, of course, as you mentioned, are facing rising costs. We're seeing inflation out of control, gas prices out of control.
$1.54 or something.
You've got to deliver on your promises, your tax promises especially, and that means lowering the gas tax, which Doug Ford has pledged to do by the end of March. That also means the middle class income tax cut. That could save an individual taxpayer up to almost $900 a year, which is a lot when we're facing inflation as we are today. And then, of course, there's to trim back spending. We've seen spending balloon under the Ford government, and actually during COVID, non-healthcare spending has increased at a faster rate than healthcare spending. And what we're saying is if you simply return to the levels of spending you had before the pandemic in areas other than healthcare, even if you keep those healthcare increases, you could cut the deficit by $10 billion and easily pay for those tax cuts that would make such a big difference in the lives of taxpayers all across the province.
$4.5 billion for a pipeline that don't exist.
In April 1st, it's no joke.
To a facility that don't exist, to export on ships that don't exist, to another facility that don't exist and won't be built.
I've said to Mr. Trudeau, look, ease up on that. We've got a clean fuel tax coming in as well. All these things chip away. So even if Doug Ford ends up delivering on his cut to the gas tax, you're still going to get hit on the other side of the federal, the coffers. But these are the areas that if the governments at both levels help, everyday Canadians, there's the area where they can help, and I just don't think they will.
Send us $50, you cocksuckers.
Yeah, so
we'll spend it same day.
He said in November that he was going to implement the gas tax cut by the end of March. He said that he was willing to match Prime Minister Trudeau penny for penny when it comes to lowering gas taxes. Of course, I don't think we're ever going to see that from Prime Minister Trudeau. He's about to, as he said on April 1st, raise the carbon tax for the third time in this pandemic, and he's planning to raise the carbon tax all the way till 2030, which is going to drive gas prices through the roof to something like $2 a liter, which is absolutely outrageous. And, you really contrast this with other countries. You see countries like India and South Korea, and in various countries in Europe as well, lowering gas taxes, lowering energy costs to help people out during this really difficult time. And instead, what we're seeing here in Canada is a prime minister who just wants to drive prices through the roof for some environmental agenda that we know that in British Columbia, they've had a carbon tax for over 10 years. Carbon emissions keep going up. So it's a tax plan, it's not an environmental plan, and it's not working.
Canada's carbon negative.
It's interesting because, there's a lot of stuff he's got to get done. The other issue that he's dealing with right now is a lot of pressure from the nursing associations about Bill 124. This is a cap that the Ford government put on the public sector where they cap raises to, I think it's a percentage a year. But, there is a need. We've got 22,000 vacancies for nurses. We need more nurses. The people that we have now are completely burnt out. They are looking to leave. And this is one of those things, Jay, where I say, okay, keep Bill 124 in there, but certainly I think they could make a provision for the nurses. Get rid of some of the other bureaucratic costs and give more money to the nurses, which we actually need to invest in.
Yeah, absolutely. The bill is really important that it's on the books. It's good that it's there. Quite frankly, I think we should be looking at a freeze instead of increasing by 1%, particularly because most of the people in the bureaucracy are getting paid 10% more than people in the private sector. But of course,
and they got raised.
What private sector healthcare is there, you fucking idiot?
The pandemic. But when you're talking about, jobs like nurses that, of course, we desperately need to fill, I think there should be some room for the Ford government to focus
I attest to it.
strange agenda on bureaucrats while still giving nurses and doctors the break that they deserve.
Holy problem.
Yeah. Well, at least we'll get one. We're still waiting for one at the federal level, but nonetheless, the provinces are still delivering. We'll see if they heard your demands and see if they deliver. Appreciate it, Jay.
Absolutely great to be with you.
That's Jay Goldberg mining the dollars and cents for the Canadian taxpayers. So we'll see if they do deliver. All right, that wraps up this Thursday with a nice little bow. There is a little more conversation still to be had with our good friend Ben O'Hara Byrne, who's on right after me on 640 Toronto and our sister station.
You've done this. I love it.
I thank you. I thank my team. Let's see what Friday brings our way. I'm Alex Pearson.
A foot of snow. Go fuck yourself. I just want it to be said. When people are looking at some sections of the city going, what the fuck happened? And when you're looking at other sections going, oh, you guys have got it tight going on out there. You got it organized, well regulated. I want you to know this is because of the Treaty of Watertown. This is because of the Treaty of Watertown. It's not because of any of the Halifax treaties or none of that shit. It ain't even really because of Complan Laser. I'm taking a strategic position. I don't care if you like it. You could do all this shit yourselves. Independent. 9-6 all fucking day. 9-6 since 9-6. A little bit earlier, but that's not the point. 8-3 since 8-3. Oh.
Leave your couch, and shipping is free in Canada.
You don't have to leave your couch.
It's not just Jim's Guitar World. .com. That's TMSofCanada.com.
Report here's Richard Southern.
Good evening. Oh, snap. Snapchat reported its first quarterly profit after the bell, and investors piled into the company's stock. Snapchat shares surged more than 50% in the extended trade. The company
Why couldn't it be called croissant cell instead of sickle cell? Think about it.
Daily active users also bigger than expected at 319 million. So good earnings from Snap. We also had another big tech name, maybe one of the biggest, reporting earnings after the close, Amazon.com. And it's too very much impressed. Amazon reporting a 9% sales gain, revenue coming in at $137.4 billion. Bottom line, better than expected, $27.75. The Prime membership cost, though, going up to $139 a year.
What?
Amazon stock gains.
I thought that was like a free thing you guys
in
got.
the extended trading session.
Or if you spend enough money, they just upgrade it.
28%.
You gotta pay a fee every what?
Social media name. Broader markets were lower today on the heels of Facebook.
You see how they do it? 139 on 12 months.
Meta platforms
139.
$237. It dragged the Dow down 518 points, 35,111. S&P down 2.4%. Nasdaq down 538 points. The TSX fell 268 points to 21,094. Shopify down 8.4% as tech stocks took a hit on Bay Street as well. Lightspeed Commerce down 4%. Canada stocks lower. Aurora down 6.9%. BCE raising its quarterly dividend 5.1% as it posted some better than expected earnings. The stock was up about 0.75% to $53.17. Oil above $90 and the Canadian dollar 78.88 cents US. Top stories are next on City News 680.
Your employment rights.
They have a dividend reinvestment plan.
Employmentlawyer.ca.
There are many severance payments floating around. That you only get 2 weeks' pay. That you don't get compensation if you're let go due to COVID-19. Or that you only have a few days to accept the severance package. The truth is that your severance package could be as much as 24 months' pay. You still get severance if you lost your job because of COVID-19, and you have 2 years to get your severance after you've been let go. My experienced team has helped countless employees significantly increase the compensation that they were offered. Don't settle for what your employer wants to pay you. Get what the law says you must receive. Contact me and discover why my employment law firm is the most positively reviewed firm in Canada.
Contact employment lawyer Lior Samfiru today. Get the advice you need and the compensation you deserve. Visit employmentlawyer.ca. That's employmentlawyer.ca.
Now, City News regional weather conditions for Blue Mountain Resort. Take back winter with the perfect winter getaway. Find the best deals on stay and ski packages, lift tickets, attractions, and more at bluemountain.ca.
And we have light snow pretty much right across the GTA. In Hamilton, -9, Brampton, -10, Oshawa, -9. Tijuana Turner is our editor this hour, and David Augustine.
How did you get that name?
City News time, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm going to end this and I think.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is City News 680 everywhere.
It's Thursday, February 3rd. Good evening, I'm Scott Burnett.
And I'm Christine Ritchie. Here's what's making news this hour.
The RCMP has agreed to provide resources for the city of Ottawa as businesses and
What does that mean?
say they've had enough.
Were they not there yet?
They are being advised to conceal their identities this
Yeah.
weekend.
Well, do you think they were advertising them?
Demonstration at Queen's Park steps from Hospital Road.
But you can see the people coming in and out of the hospital. Hey, if they ain't sick and dying, they might just work there, right?
That winter storm, and that has the city of Toronto out with an extreme cold weather alert. Ontario's top doctor says when it comes to the COVID.
Yeah, probably
Leaving Toronto.
I have a midterm, so I'm going to be studying.
Given the noise of trucks, study and sleep could be difficult. The mayor says hospitals can't be disrupted.
People should not be blocked from receiving emergency care or any medical care, and hospital workers must be able to go freely and safely to and from their respective workplaces.
Be peaceful, be respectful, and follow the rules.
Now, those frontline healthcare workers received an internal memo from the University Health Network today to ensure they have their ID passes and suggested workers don't wear their scrubs that would identify them as healthcare workers. And that's prompted outrage from some doctors and nurses. Well, there's a twist in an early morning fatal collision on the Gardner that brought westbound traffic to a halt for hours. The driver of the vehicle involved, who rammed into a flatbed truck, had stolen the Honda Accord. He died on scene. Here's Global's crime reporter, Catherine McDonald, with the latest.
And while Toronto Police Traffic Services will only say the investigation is ongoing, police sources from multiple police jurisdictions tell me the Honda Accord had been stolen in an armed carjacking just an hour before the collision here on the Gardner. Thankfully, the driver of the flatbed truck was uninjured and was able to walk away, likely due to the fact that he was in a big truck. But other motorists, including one man we spoke to who was stuck in the backlog for 3 hours, says he's relieved no one else was injured or killed, given the driver of the stolen vehicle was traveling at such a high rate of speed.
Speed, a normal occurrence on Toronto streets, so the city is fighting back by adding 25 more speed cameras, upping the total across the city to 75, and very likely up the cash in the coffers. Last year, over 250,000 tickets were issued because of the cameras. The SIU is hoping you can help them track down an SUV that was in the area of a fatal police shooting last month. A 35-year-old man died after an interaction with York Regional Police at First Markham Place near Highway 7 in the 404 on January 21st. Ontario Special Investigations Unit believes the driver of the silver-colored SUV might have some information pertaining to the shooting. The SIU is asking the driver and anyone else who was in the area at the time of the shooting to step forward. In sports, it looked bleak for Fred VanVleet a few weeks ago, but Steady Freddie is an all-star now. The Raptors guard was named a reserve for the upcoming star-studded.
We begin with breaking news out of Ottawa tonight, where the RCMP has agreed to provide resources for that city as businesses and residents say they have had enough. The request for help came directly from the city, with the force agreeing to help out earlier this evening. What began as an anti-vaccine mandate convoy to the nation's capital has turned into an occupation in parts of the downtown area.
You need to put your brand name on it.
And now a wooden structure that was erected and stocked with propane tanks.
Public safety
Whoa. No, you guys are idiots when it comes to propane.
Disruptions to local residents, including vandalism, harassment,
Propane is incredibly safe, all things considered, so you idiots start fucking around. Why would you have it stacked up in a wooden structure? What wooden structure? What are you talking about?
Who have jurisdiction.
Meantime, the Prime Minister says military intervention to end that convoy of protests is not in the cards right now, but he's also not completely ruling it out. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says at the moment there are no requests from the city or province for use of the military to deal with the situation. He says the RCMP is helping police, and while he's not completely closing the door on military action, he stresses one has to be very, very cautious.
I thought I was going to end the video, but I just know there's going to be some.
Trudeau is also dismissing the option of negotiating with organizers of the protest.
The soccer team took another huge step towards a first World Cup since 1986, a big 2-0 win in El Salvador last night. One person watching was the player whose goal in St. John's, Newfoundland, back in 1985 earned us our one and only trip to the World Cup in 1986. We'll take a trip down memory lane with George Pecos a little later in the show. With the opening ceremonies of the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics.
Questions while the media asked about how fundraising cash would be used. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Mayor Tory and city police are preparing for this weekend's expected anti-mandate protest at Queen's Park, and that also has nearby hospitals on high alert as they warn patients to be prepared for heavy, noisy traffic. City's Mama Crushy has more.
We must work together.
Did you ever have a pro-mandate protest? Like, wasn't it assumed with that combination of words?
That's what Mayor Tory is saying about a possible trucker protest outside Queen's Park this weekend. I want to be absolutely clear that I support Toronto Police.
Circle the squares! Circle the squares! Circle the squares!
They can to protect the safety of Toronto residents and businesses and to minimize any disruptions to those Toronto residents and businesses.
I don't think these guys are trying to stop things like actively getting in the way, but they aren't working right now if they're protesting. You aren't seeing the point yet. They take a week off, it's going to take 6 weeks to catch up.
Who say anyone who attempts to disrupt hospital or emergency
And anybody that is working is probably getting more money right now.
Several reports also say UHN employees are told to be careful when going in and out of hospitals this weekend. Bowman Qureshi, City
And you said something about the doctors and nurses.
Association weighed in on the expected convoy. The ONA released a statement that reads in part, quote, attempts to intimidate nurses, healthcare professionals, or patients with aggressive noise and a confrontational presence are entirely unacceptable, end quote. The ONA also added that it's disappointing that, quote, nurses and healthcare workers are being advised by Toronto police to conceal their identities due to the risk of harassment.
Disappointing that that's what they told you, or disappointing that that's the situation in life right now?
Nurses, healthcare professionals, and patients have safe access to hospitals. Toronto police tweeted out tonight.
These guys aren't getting in people's way like that. You don't understand the work they do for you.
They remain a priority for police and officers and will be present to ensure they feel safe going to and from work.
And
City News time at 10:07. The second part of this week's winter storm hitting us tonight. It's just a few centimeters of snow, along with some plunging temperatures, though. City's Michelle Mackey is on the Weather Watch.
After a second wave of snow across the Golden Horseshoe, city weather specialist Emily Vukovic says we now have extreme cold and gusty winds to contend with.
You told us this thing stretches all the way to Texas and that it's an Arctic air mass or some shit.
They're going to be very cold, dropping down to minus 12 through the overnight, but feeling more like minus 18 when you factor in that wind.
That's why the city of Toronto is out with an
That's just the right temperature for all the salt water to freeze at minus 10.
Local services to get vulnerable residents indoors. The city says its 4 warming centers that were activated on January 7th will remain open. In fact, Toronto has had 23 days so far this season under an extreme cold weather alert. Last winter, we had 9 days in total. Now, Emily says
but didn't something else happen last year?
Retreat by Sunday with a return to seasonal temperatures.
Wasn't I shoveling snow last year? I don't remember. You guys type in the same date with the last year and see what comes up.
Cautiously optimistic about the COVID situation in our province.
Dr. Kieran Moore says we have good data coming from hospitals now.
On the total number of people hospitalized, which is on the decline, total number of people in the intensive care unit, which is again on the decline, and the wastewater surveillance system that is in across Ontario is showing also a decline. So we have multiple surveillance lots and data points that are helping us give us situational awareness.
Ontario's top doctor says we're trending in the right direction, but we are not out of the woods yet. He warns reopening the economy could lead to some rough times in February, but on the plus side, they have built good hospital capacity for this month. He also says Ontario will need to reassess the value of the vaccine certificate system in the coming weeks and months, and it will soon be time to decide what restrictions are kept in place. I'm Phil Martino.
This is City News 680.
So I've seen one person in the last fucking year sitting in a Tim Hortons.
Companies looking to streamline and grow their business. And no one
He's an old person. Which, okay, so what I mean by that, they probably were like top of the line to get all the shots or whatever.
Tailored and integrated within your existing business model while offering round-the-clock support to help drive revenue and increase productivity. Reach the next level with TechWeb, Ontario's premier app.
Closed, obviously.
I've been closed since Friday, yes. The impact has been substantial. I obviously rely on the downtown core and other business owners, the parliamentary core, and and the people that work for the
no offense, but you knew there'd be shit happening sometimes.
People for my clientele, and all of those people, under normal circumstances, would be coming into the salon, like the barber shop right now, and I would be making money. But because of the convoy, nothing.
None of those truckers are getting haircuts. None of them.
Into downtown Ottawa.
That's what you got to do. You got to make yourself obnoxious and park right out front of the barber shop, pay for the parking, and get your hair cut.
That was the only, and I had to walk in from Hull. I live in Gatineau, just over the bridge from Ottawa on the Quebec side, and I got as far as Hull, and then I had to walk in from Hull. So when I walked in this morning, I walked across the Alexandra Bridge, which is, a suspension bridge that is between Hull, is between the museum and the art museum, whatever it is in Hull.
So you walk to the salon, in other words.
Yeah, so I walked to the barber shop, and I mean, I had to walk down Wellington Street, past all of the trucks, and the horn started blaring right before 8 a.m. And there was bags of garbage tied to the fences all over in front of Parliament Hill, all down there.
Oh, wow.
I was getting told to take my mask off, that I'm free now. And I have emphysema, and I'm 3 times vaccinated and highly petrified of COVID. So I don't feel like I'm free as long as COVID is still here. So I don't.
What do you make of the politicians supporting the protests? And do you cut any of their hair?
I've seen politicians' hair, but I haven't seen any of my clients in particular. So not that I've seen anybody on TV or that I've heard so far, any of my clients. So I'm quite happy about that.
What do you make of the other ones out there supporting them?
The ones that are supporting them, unless they're doing it to try and appease them in some way, shape, or form, I don't know. But I really don't think that this should be being supported. I got to work this morning, and there's a sticker stuck to my window of Mr. Trudeau dressed in an Adolf Hitler uniform, and it said, wanted for crimes against humanity and these kinds of things. And I have my barbershop in the oldest heritage building in Ottawa. So I was very, very upset to see Nazi hate propaganda more or less stuck to my building.
Yeah, interesting. Do you think police could be doing more, or do you think they're in a no-win here?
Well, I happen to know that Wellington Street and Parliament Hill are under federal jurisdiction. Right. So there's the small issue there being, of course, is that Ottawa police can more or less keep the peace or whatever it is that they're doing down there at the moment. And, I think they're probably, being that it's federal property, they're going to have to obviously ask for federal help. So I don't know if that's going to come in the way of the RCMP. I know Parliamentary Protective Services, that is their jurisdiction as well. So between Parliamentary Protective Services, RCMP, and maybe even perhaps the military at this point. I don't know, but
Well, that's who got the guy from the 2014 shoot.
They were coming in. Steve Ottawa asked, and we're going to get them. Are you going to be able to survive? Are you going to be? We've had COVID. Are you going to be able to survive this as a business? And I mean, this is not just down to what the protests are, but I mean, how much more has this hurt?
Well, first off, I mean, I've managed to survive COVID at this point, and in Ontario, I'm not sure exactly what point, but when the vaccine passport came out in Ontario, all of a sudden barbershops were deemed an essential service. So since then, before then, I didn't get any government funding at all, and I still don't get government funding. But since then, obviously, I've been able to be open. So under normal COVID circumstances, as normal as they are, I would be open at this point right now. I would not tonight, obviously, but I would be open during the day, Monday to Friday. And I would be making very good money right now, so this is going to impact me substantially.
Yeah, because Parliament was just reopening, right? So although they're not all there, we expect a few haircuts to be...
Exactly, and it's not just from the parliamentarians, obviously, the staff, their staffers, the people that work around Parliament, the maintenance,
all the security and the cops don't walk around looking like this shaggy shit, do they?
Protective services, the Senate,
I got exemptions for being Aboriginal and having ingrown hairs.
Government Services Canada, and Public Services and Procurement Canada, the maintenance people that work in the businesses. Like it's crazy. I am losing insane amounts of money right now.
Robin Segay, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you get to reopen soon, and thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for listening in, and I really hope that we can get this situation cleaned up soon.
Yeah, Robin Segay, owner of Victoria Barber in Ottawa, right near Parliament Hill. So with no solution in sight in Ottawa and protests planned for other cities, including Toronto, over the weekend, how should authorities be handling this situation? Are they doing enough? Are they doing all they can? Criminologist Michael Kempa joins us next with some answers.
Stephen, I'm thinking of adding physical gold to my portfolio.
Well, I wouldn't do it.
I got it here.
And it doesn't pay a dividend.
Really? Because I researched gold, and it actually has averaged over 8% a year since 2002.
Well,
that's a lot more than I'm getting with you.
But you're going to have to pay to store it, and how are you going to sell it?
Actually, it's easy to
store.
Fuck
that, I'll rock it on my neck.
It costs less than your yearly management fee. And I found out that through Guildhall, that buying and selling happens on a phone call.
Have you ever thought about owning physical gold or silver and been told it's a bad idea? Thank goodness for Guildhall. Guildhall Precious Metals will put you first. With Guildhall, you can discover how owning physical gold and silver could protect your financial future and cost your pocket less. Go to guildhallwealth.com, where it's all about you.
Sorry, Stephen. I want to do things my way. I'm heading to Guildhall.
Guildhall is gold.
Callum. Yes, Michael. Mr. Jones wants to know what you created for Valentine's Day. It's a double diamond pendant. Perfect circle interrupted by two diamonds side by side.
It's called The Day We Met.
These two diamonds were headed for each other since the day they were born.
You were headed toward your lover your whole life.
And then one day,
you met. It was meant to be.
And it's just $199. We're making money at that price? Gosh, I keep forgetting to do that.
Spence Diamonds.
Wow.
Located in Vaughan, Scarborough, and Mississauga.
Every parent has questions.
When it comes to drugs, how much freedom is too much for kids?
Looking for the right approach? Drug-free kids can help.
I want a drug-free life for my kids, but where do I begin?
Drug-free kids can get you started.
Drugs worry me, but how can I feel free to talk about it with my kids?
Don't know where to start? Drug-free kids can show you. The answers aren't obvious, but where to find them is. Drug-free kids Canada.
At Global News, we go beyond the headlines and the hashtags.
In this city, there's such a divide.
People are angry. The middle class has been eviscerated.
We fight for you.
How come you're still taking money from people and not doing the work?
And make your story our story.
So how is the community dealing with this flooding? We all come out and we help out, finally sandbags on the shore.
Global News believes in a greater Toronto. Weeknights at 5:30 with Alan Carter and Clara Nasser.
I want to thank Global News for being there for us.
The winter blues. Many people have them, but for some, they can last all year long. If someone you love is struggling with depression, anxiety, or addiction, and you're not sure where to turn to for help, look no further than the farm in Stouffville. Offering your loved one the best chance at recovery and unprecedented aftercare support.
I'm Yona Budd, Clinical Director of the Farm in Stouffville. We can help you and your loved one. thefarmrehab.com.
Looking to invest in real estate this new year? You'll want to check out the Nomi Resort, Ontario's newest and hottest four-season resort and community, located in beautiful Haliburton, Ontario. Don't miss this revenue-driven real estate opportunity with limited-time special pricing starting at $745,000. Fully furnished 1,720-square-foot recreational bungalows, close to luxurious amenities with a waterfront clubhouse coming soon. This opportunity won't last long, so act now. Visit nomisales.com or call 647-669-NOMI today.
Can I afford to buy a house? What is money, really?
Canadians lose a lot of sleep over money, so we created Sleep Advisor by Scotia Advice Plus. Investment tools to help you sleep better. Until April 30th, earn 1.30% interest on new deposits into your TFSA or RSP with the Savings Accelerator account. Learn more at scotiabank.com/investing. Certain conditions apply. Interest is an annual rate calculated daily. Scotiabank, you're richer than you think.
Subscribe and favorite the A Little More Conversation podcast on CuriousCast, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. This is A Little More Conversation with Ben O'Hara-Byrne.
So a standoff between protesters and the federal government in Ottawa, caught in the middle, as we heard from our last guest.
Oh, damn, that's bad.
Well, it was a barbershop right off Parliament Hill. The people and business owners of Ottawa. And now reports from police there, they expect that blockade in Ottawa to grow over the weekend and the protests to expand, with others planned in cities such as Toronto, Victoria, and Quebec City over the weekend. Today, Ontario Premier Doug Ford told Hamilton's...
Where's the Port of Vancouver? How far is it from Victoria? It's right there, right?
They wanted to.
I've been both
We
ways.
live in a democracy. If people want to come down and protest, God bless them. I understand their frustration. I really do.
Toronto Mayor John Tory was a little less enthusiastic, saying police and city staff must do, quote, everything we can to prevent a similar blockade to Ottawa's, especially with the legislature there at Queen's Park, so close to the city's major hospitals. And in Quebec City, another protest plan, Quebec Premier François Legault, is also calling for calm.
And like I said, I have no problem seeing people in the streets saying whatever they want, but I want to see normal life being possible. And it includes having children going to the Carnaval de Québec.
All right, so both premiers, they're sounding somewhat different. But
He sounds like he's doing a John Cratchit impression at all times.
Government be weighing the rights of the people that they serve versus the
Another
right
rubber band.
to protest. And what is the appropriate response? Is there one? Joining me now from Ottawa to look into this further is University of Ottawa criminologist Michael Kempa. Welcome, Michael.
Give me some worth listening to and remembering, bro.
So we're tonight, I wanted to start with something that we've just been seeing. We're tonight, the Public Safety Minister has approved a request for more RCMP officers to support Ottawa Police. Do you think that'll have a big impact?
Well, indeed I do, and we all saw it coming. Those of us in Ottawa will be paying careful attention. The main thing is that as protests rage on, the police generally work by sort of putting a little bit of a wall around it, sealing it off, allowing the worst to fizzle out, and as it starts to dwindle, going into more aggressively police public safety measures. And to do that, the Ottawa Police will need more manpower, and that's what the RCMP will provide.
I mean, how would you assess the response of police or authorities in general to what's unfolded in Ottawa since last Friday? Overall, how would you assess it?
It's been confusing for a lot of citizens, but I would say, knowing what I know about legal frameworks around public order policing, it's been almost a textbook response to what the police in Ontario have been told to do since the disastrous public order policing of the G20 protests in 2020. So everyone remembers the big economic summit in 2020. Toronto police aggressively took back the streets of Toronto, kettled protesters. There were lawsuits against the city and the police in Toronto, tens of millions of dollars paid out, critical reports. The new approach has been to say the police have got to basically cordon major protests off, intervene when there are major violent or property crime acts, allow the thing to fizzle out, and when they've got numbers superiority and the resources in place, go in and clear the streets. And that's exactly what it seems we're doing this time around.
Yeah, lots of lessons learned from that 2010 G20 in Toronto for sure.
Okay, yeah.
People jumped me for the day. I had 10 cops on me, and so there was four. There was four going through my pockets and 6 more behind them. There was 6.
You know, citizens'
Yeah, there was 4 going through my.
I think you just explained it to some extent, but I think there's a lot of confusion within the population about where those rights begin and end.
Well, that's it. This is the tricky business in a democracy, is that there isn't a precise professor's formula I can give you. I mean, most protests are on some level a little bit illegal. Like, very rarely do we have permits, proper permits for marching through the street. But nevertheless, even though it's a little bit illegal, it's acceptable. In a democracy, we say that this is all right. It's our right to assemble, to express our views, and the police are supposed to tolerate it. But at a certain point, you start shifting away from expressing your views in public space, albeit maybe in a very loud and potentially annoying way, into an occupation of land that prevents citizens from going about their daily business, much of which is essential in grocery shopping, going to the pharmacy, etc., and refusing to leave until your political demands are met. That's not the expression of ideas, that's extortion.
I thought it was a sit-in.
You cross the line.
I thought it was a sit-in. Isn't that how you ended Vietnam? The Vietnam War,
What the lessons learned already from Ottawa can be to help authorities in other places such as Toronto and Quebec City over the weekend, and also some stuff that Ottawa's police chief had to say yesterday. We're going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back with Michael Kempa, professor of chronology at the University of Ottawa. Stay with us.
Professor of... Did he say chronology? No, he must have meant criminology or cut out his book.
Your long-term disability insurance denies your claim. My name is Aaron Waxman, and if your long-term disability claim is denied for any reason, call me at 416-661-4878, and don't worry about upfront legal fees because there are none.
I did it all again. I did. The third fucking time I beat myself up. I had a shovel today. I still fucked my feet up. Oh my god, blood blisters everywhere.
661-4878 or on your cell phone at pound.
What does it mean to be exceptional? Take 2 companies that intimately know their craft.
I got $5 anything while you start. I don't think I'm going.
For those who dare to be different.
Oh, I don't have to.
Appliance Canada and Thermador.
Minus 13 tomorrow.
Bring innovation to life and invite you to experience exceptional moments with Thermador appliances. Visit appliancecanada.com for more information on our Thermador offers featured throughout the year. Thermador and Appliance Canada. For your home, for your life.
Time for the business report brought to you by Desjardins. Here is Richard Summit.
Good evening. The biggest name in online retail has no trouble turning a big fat profit. Amazon opened up its books after the closing bell tonight and reported a 9% increase in sales. It turned a revenue of $137.4 billion in the past 3 months. The bottom line is better than expected at $27.75 per share. All the metrics look good for Amazon. Customers, though, might be taken a bit aback by an announcement. Prime membership fees are going up to $139.
See, I don't know. I just thought that shit was free.
Moved higher, up about 14% of the extended trade. The Snapchat parent company really impressed investors after the bell. Snap posted its first profit ever, and the stock surged more than 50% in the extended trade. The broader markets, though, were down, and that was because of soft earnings yesterday from Facebook. Meta Platforms, the Facebook parent company, suffered a big wipeout on the financial markets today. The stock fell 26% after the company announced the first ever decline in users. It really dragged the broader markets down. The Dow fell 518 points to 35,111. S&P down 2.4%, and the NASDAQ down 538 points. TSX dropped 268 points to 21,094. Shopify in the Bay Street technology space was a big decliner, down 8.4%. Constellation Software falling 5%. Heads up, gasoline prices here in the GTA just won't stop rising, going up another 2 pennies at midnight tonight, and then another 1 cent Saturday. We'll be paying on average
delivered by truck.
57.9 a liter. By Saturday morning, oil surged above $90 per barrel today for the first time since 2014. Canadian dollar 78.86 cents US. This is City News 680. With 30 years of responsible investment expertise, Desjardins' industry-leading funds like the Desjardins Sociétaire Clean Tech Fund help treat 300
until after your rebate arrives.
Now that's happily ever after.
Visit accessrebates.ca.
Have you ever sneezed and felt a little leakage? Embarrassing, right? Don't worry. Our venous wave therapy strengthens your pelvic muscles and gives you back control of your bladder and your freedom.
You're asking me. I'm sitting there smoking a thing. You ever sneezed and pissed your pants? Just a little. Yeah. Fuck.
Get started today.
No, what the fuck? What are you asking me that for? That's too weird.
416-522-5000. That's 416-522-5000.
You ever been trying to take a piss and then you sneeze? Jesus Christ, what a mess.
Call today. 416-522-5000.
Oh, great. I got a chance to get out of town early. My car battery decides to pack it in. Thanks for holding us up, pal. Rush hour's building and I'm stuck. Oh, but not for long. I got Abrams towing in my phone. Abrams recruits only the best drivers, fully licensed and insured. With Abrams, I know I won't get ripped off.
You need a tow?
I'm good. Called Abrams.
You can trust Abrams Towing. Put it in your phone now. 416-398-2500. 416-398-2500.
This is Global News. I'm Toby Kerr. Quebec City officials are reinforcing security measures around the legislature as demonstrators opposed to COVID-19 health orders are expected to begin arriving ahead of a weekend protest. Premier François Legault made it clear that mayhem of any kind would not be tolerated at the demonstration, which is inspired by the ongoing protest in front of the Parliament in Ottawa. Legault says authorities won't tolerate an interruption to normal life as the city's winter carnival gets underway Friday.
Like I said, I have no problem seeing people in the street saying whatever they want.
Saying whatever they want. Yeah, you don't care what they say. That is the truth.
Possible, and it includes.
Got that? That's he said he revealed something.
Going to the Carnaval de Québec.
It's unclear exactly how many people will descend on the provincial capital, but convoys from several cities are expected to arrive by Friday. COVID-19 cases from the Omicron wave are dropping in the U.S., but they are still at near record levels.
New CDC data showing the nation's daily COVID case average falling from the mid-January peak by nearly half to 415,000 new COVID cases a day. But case rates remain higher than at any other point during the pandemic. 99% of all U.S. counties still reporting high transmission. Hospitalizations are down by nearly a quarter in the past 2 weeks. But the daily
so it's not even certain place. 99% of counties.
Dave Packer, ABC News.
That's insane.
A permanent memorial to honor a Muslim family attacked while walking in London, Ontario last June has been proposed for the city. The city manager is recommending spending up to $150,000 for a memorial plaza at the site of the attack. A 9-year-old boy survived the attack, which police have alleged was an act motivated by hate against the Islamic faith. From the Global News Desk, I'm Toby Kerr.
Call or text 1-877-399-9898. This is A Little More Conversation with Ben O'Hara Byrne.
I'm back with Michael Kempa, criminologist at the University of Ottawa. We've been talking about how authorities have responded to the blockade in Ottawa so far. Michael calling it textbook within the lessons learned following the police response to the G20 protests in Toronto back in 2010. And speaking of Toronto, a protest planned there for this weekend to support the one going on in Ottawa. Premier Doug Ford seemed to welcome truckers to Queen's Park, but
500,000 people employed in transportation, 250,000 directly driving trucks.
The big question tonight, Michael.
That's the difficulty. You cannot, under the charter, prevent people from coming into your city before they've done anything wrong. Unless you're able to prove something like a conspiracy to commit a specific crime, but we simply don't have that on a convoy of thousands of people potentially coming into the city. They simply can't stop them. We do have the right to freely assemble. We do have the
And
right.
they don't have the right to stop
expression.
everybody going down a certain road either. Thank you to the Hells Angels.
Occupy space for a certain duration of time that the public will not tolerate. It's not a specific number of days, and you refuse to leave until your political demands are met. That's not expression. That's extortion.
I've been to protest breakups in places like Moscow and Istanbul where things are a little less genteel, and I wouldn't recommend that, obviously, for here. And I know people are frustrated, but
yeah, what's the internet age? These cops don't want to be famous like that.
You don't really recognize what it is.
I'll spit in your face and you'll get AIDS. You motherfucker! What an ignorant thing to say, because you can give B19 and that B19 to compromise your immune system.
Objective is to avoid a confrontation.
Yes, absolutely, and there's good reason for it. In that what we're dealing with here is far more complicated than some sort of ragtag group of people who are upset with vaccine mandates. We've essentially got a rolling program for political rallies disguised as protests across Canada that are designed to drum up support for some form of political movement that's also raising money for objectives that we are not entirely sure of. So you can be certain that the police services, RCMP, and CSIS are trying to figure out exactly what it is the organizers have in mind.
Probably the Canadian security establishment too.
You follow the money trail. What is this money being raised for, and what will it ultimately be spent on? My guess, as a fair comment based on historical precedent, is that it will go towards funding election campaigns for alternative candidates across Canada.
God forbid if you have an alternative candidate or a truck driver running for the prime minister.
About just being in Ottawa, I know you were watching what the police chief there had to say yesterday, and it was a very interesting comment that he brought up about a quote significant element from the U.S. involved with funding and planning this event. This appears to be very coordinated, and perhaps in a way that caught authorities in Ottawa certainly off guard.
Yes. There is a group of people behind the protests that are very organized and very sophisticated. They know what they're doing in terms of organizing a political movement. Now, on top of that layer of very coordinated and smart and savvy political operators, there is a huge number of very angry, very frustrated people.
Oh my God, that was huge.
Referred to here in Ottawa as the honker class, because they're here in town, they're angry, they're honking, they don't really know why they're here. But there is a battle to align these people, get them behind a political movement, and critically get their wallets to fund a political movement. And I have to say, the left and the conventional state and all of that is as much to blame for the generation of these people because we've let them down. That's why they're so angry.
Agreed. I mean, and I know there's been a lot of talk. A lot of talk out there just about reaction, police intervention in different kinds of protests. That there has been suggestions that the police have been harder, for instance, or at least more aggressive when it came to, say, protests against pipelines or protests against old growth, protecting old growth forests. From a criminologist point of view, from the charter point of view, how do you see that?
Well, they have been harder on whether we're talking about racialized protests, people advocating for rights of either Black lives in North America or Canada, or Indigenous issues. And part of the reason is it's because the police could be harder because the numbers have been much smaller and the possession of heavy machinery has been far lesser in these types of protests. So just because the police were capable of overpowering that form of protest, they have. Now, what I'm saying is,
they can't stop a truck.
Capable of overpowering the so-called trucker protest this time around, given number 8,000 to 12,000 people in the streets of Ottawa last weekend, with hundreds of heavy trucks and other types of farm machinery and other fantastical machines. The police couldn't overpower it, so they actually did what they were supposed to do, which is cordon things off and hope for things to cool down and respond only to serious forms of crime. I'm saying if we can do that for the 12,000, we should do that for the dozen or 100 or even 1,000 of other forms of protesters that get together. Yes, it may be annoying, but as long as it's not a long-term occupation that amounts to extortion, let them have their protest in the same way we did this time around.
The last question to you, Michael Kempo. Where does this go from here, do you think, at least in the short term? I know the police chief again in Ottawa is
Anywhere
going
a
to
truck
talk
can
about
go.
more people coming to reinforce or at least bolster the existing blockade in Ottawa. Where do you think this goes in the short term?
Reinforce.
I understand people who say, well, let's be very careful. Let's not aggravate the protesters for fear that they may become violent, almost like an appeasement strategy in a way. And I have.
How dare you just assume that people are about to get violent?
I would say, based on what I think the intentions of the political movement behind that are driving these protesters are, they will not be appeased. It will require a significant police and even potentially military response that is then followed by a political response to win over the hearts and minds of what I mentioned as the so-called honker class. All of these angry people are going to go somewhere. And if the state doesn't have an answer for them, they will go to the populist movement.
Ottawa police are going to have a press conference tomorrow to announce some more measures, so we'll see what happens there. But thank you so much, Michael Kempa, for your time and for your insight on this.
That's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Michael Kempa, criminologist at the University of Ottawa. Well, coming up, when Aaron O'Toole was turfed from the leadership of the Conservative Party yesterday, it brought an end to a strange 18-month union. Coming up, we'll meet Aaron O'Toole. No, not that one. She's in Colorado. And she's been well aware of the other Aaron O'Toole here in Canada for quite a while now. We'll hear her story when we come back.
Oh.
Welcome to Bel Air.
This is so when I say I did something, I could get pictures.
Do you know why I'm here from Philly? From executive producer Will Smith and Westbrook Studios. See you Bel Air for a better education. We have a different set of rules here, okay? You get one shot. Right there. Every time's my life and a second chance. See the film carved West Philly's Bel Air. New series premieres Monday, February 14th on Showcase. Also available on Stack TV. While the road to a successful and happy retirement means garage doors. Look around. The odds say it's Dodds. D-O-D-D-S. No one does it better than Dodds does. No one.
I need a door that's 6 meters by
talking about putting a part in your cart.
You don't
somewhere
want to get
between
left
3
out
and
the gold
6.
this winter, so if you need a part, put it in your cart.
Coy Brothers has an inventory of hundreds,
More
thousands,
4.5 tall by 6 wide.
just in case you need one.
with brands like Toro, Western, Snow.
I also got to find somebody that can frame in a curved fucking window.
What you need, and we'll ship it right to your door.
Need a part? Put a part in your cart. Online at koybros.com.
KOYBROS.com.
City News Time, 10:41.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Jazz Karen Cooter. This report brought to you by Mr. Lube. So right now, still a lot of your major routes are very icy and slippery, and it's causing for some issues right now. So first off, if you are traveling,
I saw a tow truck towing a tow truck today. That is magical. When you see a tow truck towing a tow truck, make a wish.
At Morningside in the collectors, you have 2 left lanes.
I think they were just saving fuel.
The good news is it's not causing any delays at this time, and there's also a collision eastbound 401 at the Ford Traum, and it's blocking a right lane there. Now, if you're traveling westbound on the 401, the ramp to the northbound Ford Traum, you have a left lane there blocked off for the collision, and then at Kennedy and the collectors, the right lane there shut down because of a stalled vehicle. So just watch out for that if you're headed that way. And that problem we had westbound 401 just approaching Mississauga Road has cleared, so some good news there. Now, if you're traveling southbound on the DVP approaching York Mills, we have a left lane there blocked off because of a collision. We now have tow and emergency crews on scene. So
And
just
the
be
tow
very
truck got
careful
there
if you're headed
first.
this way. Drive into your local Mr. Lube for convenience. Stay in your car services, proudly Canadian since 1976. Mr. Lube open every day, no appointment needed. Your next report is at 10:51, and now with the forecast, Emily Vukovic.
Periods of snow and blowing snow will be ending near midnight. We're left with about 2 to 5 additional centimeters of snow near Lake Ontario. Northerly wind up to about 30 kilometers an hour. We're dropping down to a low of -12, but feeling more like -18 tonight. So you're certainly going to want to bundle up. Throughout the day tomorrow, mainly cloudy. Temperatures getting up to a daytime high of -8, but it is going to feel more like -18 first thing in the morning and then -13 by the afternoon. Our expected overnight low tonight is -12.
Downtown Toronto right now, some snow is still falling. It's -9, feeling like -15. At Pearson, snow and -10, feeling like -19.
And with more snow accumulating tonight in the GTA, the city of Vaughan is sharing how it's solving an age-old winter issue. City's Tammy Sutherland has that story. Well, you may know
Christmas
the glorious
carolers.
feeling of finally finishing shoveling in front of your house, only to find out later that a plow has come by and left a mountain of snow.
Yeah, if you had pushed it up instead of out into the street, that wouldn't be a problem. People don't seem to understand. It can't both occupy the same space. That's why you're clearing the sidewalk.
And it's appreciated.
I can't believe you're
Service is
that
called
stupid.
Windrow plowing. A windrow being that part of your driveway that can often get caught between your snow clearing efforts and the city's. In Vaughan, 46 windrow plows work to clear the snow that can be pushed on your property by street clearing.
Just because people are stupid. 46 plows because you people are stupid.
If you have any issues with snow piling up at your home in Toronto,
You can't possibly. It can't possibly be enough to be a problem if you shovel towards the house instead of towards the street. You shovel away from the street, and that would all be clear, and the snow that gets pushed on will have plenty of space, and it'll be compacted.
City News 1044.
Go bullshit somebody else. Better yet, you weren't finished yet. Till that street plow went by. It's a two-stage job. Ow!
But then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you
Stop putting that fucking salt on snow. That makes ice.
ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates.
Ow!
Counts. Look for yourself. I invite you to wolfgangklein.com. Everyone deserves a great advisor. So do you.
I think I can nerve bandage on this one.
This is a little more conversation with Ben O'Hara.
I don't hear some instance of
What's in a name, you say? Well, it comes to social media. Sharing a name with someone in a high-profile position can be quite the challenge. A social media doppelganger, so to speak. Just ask my next guest. She
exact
also happens
lookalike
to be
that got nothing to
Erin
do with
O'Toole.
you. It ain't
She may
like
live
you.
in Colorado, but for the last few years, she's pretty much had a crash course in Canadian politics and done so because she's tagged all the time in tweets with people essentially angry or happy, I suppose, at times with the Conservative leader, or former Conservative leader, Erin O'Toole. Well, all that came to a bit of an end yesterday when Erin O'Toole was ousted as Conservative Party leader. And we wanted to ask Erin O'Toole in Colorado what she thought of it all. She did share a tweet yesterday very briefly to acknowledge that it had happened and say that she was happy but a bit disappointed, but we wanted to hear the whole story. So, joining us tonight, not Canadian Erin O'Toole, Colorado's Erin O'Toole. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, we read about other sort of so-called social media doppelgangers, but it's always interesting. When did you first have an inkling that something strange was happening?
Well, it actually kind of crossed my mind when I woke up on the Monday morning after there had been this election where Canadian Erin O'Toole was elected leader of the Conservative Party. I didn't know that, of course. I just had a few messages, very odd, kind of political in nature, directed at me, and I thought, well, that's weird. And then I saw that I had a few dozen followers from Canada, and I thought, well, this is even weirder. I just started doing a little bit of digging, learned about the election, and then I thought, okay, we have exactly the same name. What are the odds of that? And I bet people are mistaking me for him. So at that point, on that first morning, this was in August of 2020, thought maybe I should pin a tweet to the top of my profile, letting people know I may not be the Erin O'Toole you're looking for.
It's amazing that people would. I mean, I see. You know how easy it is to do stuff like that when you're tagging people. But I couldn't expect you to be following the Conservative Leadership Convention back in 18 months ago now. But were the messages mostly polite, or did people ever respond to you and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, other Erin O'Toole. I meant the other Erin O'Toole"?
That happens all the time. Usually what happens, and I understand too, if you're about to dash off maybe an angry tweet or a stern message to someone, you're not necessarily thinking and checking where you're sending it to. But usually when I just gently point out, hey, I'm I am a woman and I live in Colorado and I don't really know what you're talking about. People are very apologetic and very sweet. And oftentimes we end up mutually following each other. So it's kind of grown into this really fun and awesome Twitter friend exchange, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, we Canadians like to think of ourselves as being very polite even when we're angry. But that's great. So there will be a continuation of this Canadian connection long after
this guy's career.
O'Toole's leadership at least is done.
I sure hope so.
If you don't drive much at all.
Now save 10% for 6 months when you sign up for the Adjusto program. Get a quote at DesjardinAgents.com. Desjardins Insurance. Home, auto, life. Certain conditions may apply. Premium savings or increases are based on each client's driving habits.
Kitchen appliances by Smeg take center stage in the heart of the home. A place where you can congregate with family and friends. Smeg combines technology with style to offer a complete suite of small and major kitchen appliances.
I really think we might be out of news.
Performance and quality marries Italian design, enabling you to meet any cooking desire your inner chef may have. For the love of cooking, for the love of Smeg. To find in-stock,
You want married cooking or do you want...
near you, visit ELA.ca.
City News Time 10:49 as the Winter Olympics are set to get underway in China this weekend. A Tibetan community in Switzerland is calling attention to human rights violations in that country. City's Listen Cobley has a story.
Hundreds of Tibetan activists marched on the Swiss-based International Olympic Committee today, accusing the organization of ignoring what they say are atrocities committed against ethnic minorities in China.
Yet again, Winter Olympic 2022, we feel that IOC has not taken care of the gross human rights violations by Chinese regime.
Friday's opening ceremonies will have some empty seats, as some nations, including Canada, are holding diplomatic boycotts of the Games, skipping the festivities in protest against the Chinese government's human rights violation. The opening ceremonies will take place at the Bird's Nest Stadium, the same venue where Beijing's 2008 Games began, making the Chinese capital the first city to host both the summer and winter games. Listen Cobley, City News.
Coming up in 60 seconds, traffic and your forecast.
Yo.